Hello and welcome back to another episode of the longest game of all time. Today we're going to be looking at the 70s. So going from 1970 through 1980. I'm here once again with Ezio. Hi Ezio.
Hello, hello.
And where we left off, of course, the Russian very nearly got a solo in the last episode in 1964. One order change, it's been pointed out, would have succeeded. Galicia support hold Budapest. But the entire board has now united against him, and he's been driven back to just 12 dots at this point. And Germany, also completely driven out of its home supply centres, is now entirely back in them. So, a big change from last time around. Shall we just hop right into it and go straight to spring 1971?
Yeah, let's see some moves.
Alright then. Or in the German case, let's see some holds. This is a great way to start the show, isn't it?
Yep. I mean, holds are moves, technically speaking.
The thing is, we were actually discussing just prior to the show what we thought Germany would do here, because there was a sort of weird dynamic after the last one where Russia just let Germany back into a bunch of supply centers, and Germany can gain more from Russia, but they could also just go south here. Maybe help Russia against this Prussia-Silesia attack. I guess this is one way of going, I don't want to make that decision yet.
Yeah, it's honestly amazing. NMRs are a thing. We've seen them throughout.
I think we've seen them from Germany probably more than any other power at this point.
Yeah, I think France is a higher percentage of NMRs, but we've certainly seen more absolute NMRs from Germany, because Germany's been around for a lot longer.
Yep, that's fair. But ultimately doesn't really affect that part of the board very much. It's just Germany sitting around going, I'm not making a decision yet. Although whether that was intentional or not, I suppose that probably wasn't intentional. So around the rest of the board, what are your thoughts on what happened?
We see some just purely defensive moves from Russia, trying to do everything they can to survive and stall, which is, frankly, the only thing they can do. They're outmaneuvered in the south, with Turkey being lost slowly but surely, and in the north, they unfortunately misguessed around North Atlantic Ocean. I believe this was definitely the correct guess to lose, because this fleet in Irish Sea can't really get through. Right, Irish Sea can only go into Liverpool, which you can cover, whereas North Atlantic Ocean could potentially get to Norwegian Sea. So if you're trying to keep these southern fleets up in a bottle, this is definitely the correct guess to make.
Yep. And you do have 3 fleets on that front still. It's going to be hard to contain the Italian-Austrian fleets if they do choose to just continue pushing here. But
Yeah,
it
it
seems
depends
possible.
on Germany.
A
If
lot on
Germany
Germany, yeah.
brings its 2 fleets to assist the southern fleets pushing through, then my god, it's 5 fleets to 3 and there's not a chance. But if Germany instead decides to get into North Sea and support hold English Channel for a long time, then yeah, that's going to hold for a long time.
I feel
So
I feel like that's the more likely. Well, no. See, if Germany is going to turn against Russia here and keep going against Russia, feels like they would just try and get the dots in Norway and Sweden, right? They're not going to try and help Italy and Austria break through further.
I agree.
Yeah, so I think it's unlikely that those fleets go to help. Of course, the question is there, if Germany does take Norway and Sweden, what units does Russia take off the board? At that point, Russia's
Absolutely.
got to be thinking, what do I do?
Yeah, Russia's going to be thinking about survival at that point, because this Austrian attack is devastating against Russia, and as soon as Turkey is lost, He's just going to start crumbling. If there's another army in Armenia controlled by southern powers, along with fleets in Constantinople, like the Black Sea is going to fall too. And so Sev's lost, and then suddenly everything that Russia has is completely hopeless. Warsaw's already only defended by some guesswork, because if the only way to guarantee hold Warsaw concedes the entire position around Russia can do if Russia loses Norway and Sweden.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, the Austrian kind of got unlucky here on the Warsaw front, although it's not really that, like, how would you ever expect Ukraine to go here? Surely Sevastopol always taps Romania, right?
If you expect Sevastopol and Black Sea support Ukraine to Romania, this order set from Austria works very well.
Oh, that makes sense. So yeah, this is a counter to the attempted attack on Romania. But in this case, it would have been better for Austria just to go for Warsaw. It turns out, Russia, of course, doing the double bounce on, well, double tap on Galicia just to be extra safe.
Yeah, the only way to take Warsaw would have been from Galicia, so
Yeah,
it's
which
solid defensive moves.
isn't really the way you want to go in as Austria, especially considering you're anticipating that Silesia or Prussia might be tapped by Munich/Berlin. In fact, Prussia did get tapped by Baltic.
Yeah, what is Munich doing here, right? That was a very important question for the board that there was no answer.
Well, I mean, there was an answer to it. It was hold.
Great. I love it.
But yes, and in the south, you may be thinking, well, why didn't Russia support hold Constantinople here? Well, this guess is just thinking, okay, Aegean is probably supporting Syria to Smyrna. I believe this is the only order set that would have countered that.
I mean,
Armenia
Armenia
support
support
hold
hold Smyrna.
works fine as well. This is just
But
the fancy way.
this has the benefit if they had done something worse, like Aegean support Eastern Med to Smyrna, for example, this pops Army Smyrna
That's
because
huge.
Smyrna's Syria, excuse me, Army Syria, which saves the position because Smyrna would not be held, and you're just in great shape. But
That's actually
unfortunately,
significant, yeah.
yeah. But unfortunately for Russia, they did not risk it, and there was actually no way for Syria to be popped this turn because Constantinople was cut.
Yup.
So,
And now they've got to deal with an Austrian fleet in Constantinople, which could slide up to Bulgaria east coast.
yeah, I mean, I believe they had a fleet in Bulgaria East Coast that got popped a couple years ago.
Yep, they've had a lot
Um,
of units in Bulgaria that have been popped. But yes,
yeah, and now Russia's stuck with this fleet in Ankara that can't even support hold Smyrna. So I'm pretty sure Smyrna's gonna go.
that's painful. Um, in fact, yeah, I think Smyrna is just a guarantee here, right? The
I believe it's like a
downside
super guaranteed.
downside is that you do have to just give up Constantinople to do it, but hey, you can't keep Constantinople anyway if Russia just wants to put 3 on it.
Yep.
So, well, that it seems like the best route for the Austrian fleet probably is just to go to the east coast here.
I would say the best move is to tap the Black Sea. If the Black Sea goes to Bulgaria East Coast, you are ecstatic to make that trade.
Oh man,
Black Sea for Bulgaria. And if they don't do that, they force you out of Khan and you can retreat to Bulgaria East Coast.
that makes sense.
Slight efficiencies, baby. Slight efficiencies.
Right. I mean, is there a ton more to discuss here? I guess maybe the one move I would like to look at over here, Piedmont to Marseille. Where do we think that's going?
Burgundy? I don't know, man.
I mean,
Maybe Germany and Mars again.
you can't really contest Burgundy against the German, can it?
I mean, maybe Germany and Mars again, dude. You could walk in there.
It's possible, I suppose. It could also be going to Spain. Although I don't
I
know
mean, it
how
could
happy
be, but it's not.
the Austrian would be about that.
I would be astounded if it goes into Spain.
All right.
Oh my god, he takes Spain and Portugal at the same time. That'd be hilarious.
uh, That feels like it would be a mistake given the strength of the Austrian position in Austria. This is a moment where Austria could well turn around if they wanted to, right?
Well, if you're building two, you can build in Venice and Rome, and then what's the Austrian going to do?
That's true.
Like,
You don't get anywhere either, though. You kind of just get stuck after Spain and Portugal.
well, you build three, remember, because you're probably taking Smyrna. In fact, you're guaranteed to take Smyrna unless Khan taps Aegean, right?
Yeah.
So you can build Venice, Rome, Fleet, Naples, and then yeah, you get into Tyrolia, Venice, and you can get into Adriatic this year. Like, look, man, I left off the stab, but no, this is actually a really, really potent stab on Austria here, is Italy.
Well,
I kind of expect it now. Actually, that is too punishing.
would it not
Because
be
once you
like?
do that, how do you ever get eliminated? And how does anyone solo?
It's a good point. It is kind of an interesting spot here because I don't see Russia as the sort of big threat that they were. They were already knocked back, and with Germany counterbalancing them in the north, you don't actually really need the Austrian alliance. Um,
Not if you have all of his dots, certainly.
I mean, shall we go ahead and see whether it happened?
There's no way it happens, but man, I want to see it. Yeah, all
Alright.
right,
Well,
all right, all right.
fall 1971. Yeah, that is not a stab on Austria.
I'm
Although,
sorry. The Eastern Med convoy is something somewhere.
Eastern Med
Eastern Med
convoys
convoy
Syria
Syria to
to
Smyrna.
Smyrna.
We
Okay,
were expecting the same nonsense. They're trying to do the convoy swap instead of just supporting it.
Why would you ever do this? This is so bad. It's fantastic at the same time. Like, okay, so the reason that they want to do the convoy swap, I think it's come up earlier in this game, but the if you go via convoy, you can actually swap places with a unit going the other way because you take a different route to get there. So they were hoping that Russia would do the same move they did last turn, try and blow up the Syria army, and that they would swap the army into Smyrna, leaving Russia with a useless fleet in Syria. It's very fancy, but it doesn't seem worth it, especially looking at this result here.
Well, we talked about how Russia was going to be losing centers left and right. His position was broken and it was hopeless. Well, he didn't lose anything this year. Warsaw, right, was completely safe. And yeah, still hasn't lost a Turkish dot.
Yeah, and notably, Germany does not appear to stab him in the north. He goes into North Sea, which is going to be interesting to see what that decides to do. But he does not just walk into Sweden, which he was capable of doing right here.
Yeah, and I'd actually argue that him kicking Austria out of Silesia is more pro-Russian than anti-Russian.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But the way that he took it, I should say, from Munich is definitely pro-Austrian. If he'd taken it from Berlin, it would have been pro-Russia. But
I mean, it might just have
there is,
been scared of Austrian units in Prussia going into Berlin, or scared of Russian units in Baltic going to Berlin.
yeah,
Which seems more likely given the self-bounce here between Holland and Ruhr and Kiel.
yeah. And in Germany's defense, this position is remarkably static, considering what it should have looked like, in my opinion. This is great. And in the West, we just see Austria, Italy make slightly more progress. Again, they got Irish Sea into Wales. Is that even progress, actually? I'm not sure.
I
It
mean,
looks like progress, because now it threatens London.
it seems
But
to
is
be
it
slipping
actually?
forward. It has the same range, except with obviously one additional unit, one additional in London and one less in North Atlantic Ocean. So it's
Yeah.
is having one on London more valuable than having two on North Atlantic Ocean? That's the question here. I feel like it would have been better if they had gotten Brest, Tap, English Channel, Mid-Atlantic Ocean into North Atlantic Ocean. That feels like it would have been better, but of course that would have left Mid-Atlantic Ocean open, which
Yeah, English
is
Channel to
dangerous.
Atlantic Ocean just blows that up, which is a totally reasonable moveset, because I could easily see North Atlantic Ocean support English Channel to Mid Atlantic Ocean, expecting the alternative, right? Brest support Mid Atlantic Ocean to English Channel, while Irish Sea goes to Mid Atlantic Ocean is a really reasonable moveset here. You probably end up in the English Channel, right? Unless they either have North Atlantic Ocean support English Channel to Mid-Atlantic Ocean, or Wales support hold English Channel. But Wales support hold English Channel is unlikely because Liverpool, and it's the natural thing to cover Liverpool, but maybe North Atlantic Ocean could. Like, it's a totally reasonable guess for Russia to be covering, and so leaving Mid-Atlantic Ocean open to an attack from English Channel would be crazy to me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking at this north right now and seeing how fast Russia could lose dots if Germany decides that they are against them still.
If Germany decides they want Russian dots, Germany's going +6.
It would be pretty beautiful. Like, they're already in the North Sea. They could convoy into Edinburgh and then take Norway in the fall, right?
Yeah, or they convoy into Norway and then support Denmark into Sweden while they take Edinburgh in the fall. Or they go after London. Like, they can do so many things here. And just Russia cannot defend. Edinburgh, Sweden, Norway are all lost.
I guess
+6 is a
the
little
question is really, does that benefit Germany more than it benefits Austria, Italy, and the South?
I mean, if he's building 3, it seems... I
That
don't
would
know.
be pretty solid, yeah.
The danger is, of course, the fleets. To me, the danger is those fleets in the west. Those are what worry me, because if those fleets can pressure my British holdings as Germany that I want to take them from Russia, then it's not worth doing. But if I can actually build all 3, and so I can plop down 2 fleets and another army in Munich, then I have 4 fleets to their 3, and I'm pretty sure I can hold Edinburgh forever. Plus, then I can go after Brest and stuff, and suddenly I'm looking to solo, but whatever, it's fine.
In order to build all 3, though, you do need to actually vacate Munich and Berlin, which feels difficult with units in Baltic, Prussia, and Bohemia right now.
Yeah.
To say the least.
Yeah, I mean, also with that fleet in Baltic, Kiel's not safe either. So,
Yep.
yeah, it's a little awkward, but maybe you can get Russia to just give you London, because you're going to cover it so that the Austria doesn't take it. Right? Maybe that's how you do it, and then you can build it and then tell him to pop his fleet in the Baltic Sea, because you've kicked the Austrian out of Silesia and Prussia. So he's safe, he doesn't need that fleet anymore, and then next year, or 2 years from now, I should say, you go for the stab once Fleet Baltic's gone.
That's an interesting approach. I feel like that could work. Especially the taking London part, because, like, yeah, if he covers that from English Channel, he's in a potentially quite bad situation.
Yep.
With Brest coming up. But, yeah.
Counter argument, hey, I'm going to cover London with English Channel. You cover English Channel with North Sea.
So yeah, the Russian is in a dangerous spot here in the north, but it should be noted they did a fantastic job in the south with this defense, or at least Italy did a really terrible job with the attack, to the point that... Although, actually, Italy gets a build out of it, so the real loser is Austria, because they got their fleet taken off the board, and they lose Bulgaria at the same time.
Italy would have built 2. So Italy is a loser. It's just that Greece to Bulgaria south coast is so annoying. Because we discussed, right, Constantinople tapping Black Sea or something, because the retreat to Bulgaria is still fine. But not anymore, because just Greece took it. And so now it's not even on the east coast. There's a fleet on the stupid south coast of Bulgaria again.
So we're back
so
to
annoying.
the same situation we've been in for so long. Where there's just a line of units on either side, and either side breaking. Every time the south seems to make progress, or the I guess the west, it's not really the west, is it? But Italy, Austria seems to make progress, they lose it immediately.
To Italy's point, what does Italy care? Right? If nobody makes any progress, this game is a draw. And he wins. So he just killed the only Austrian fleet in the south, right?
Yeah, that's true.
And the other Austrian fleet is currently in Wales. So yeah,
that's an interesting statement. I love that Austria has Spain and Portugal just randomly, and then the only unit that's anywhere near those is Wales. Fleet Wales. Yeah. Austria's only fleet. I mean, I suppose we can say that's quite well travelled.
Yeah, like all that Italy needs to do here is keep Austria from doing anything too crazy while pressuring Germany and Russia. That's Italy's game plan, I expect. After seeing this move to Bulgaria, right, Italy's just saying, yeah, what you gonna do, Austria? Because you need me. We're the only way that you can get beyond the stalemate line, but like I'm also not gonna help you enough.
So what does Italy build here? Do you think it's Army Venice?
Um, Army Venice would be to cover Tyrolia, but like I don't really think I need to do that. I would want to build another fleet in Naples and push it to Western Med to be able to
Really?
hold Iberia against.
6 fleets when one of your armies is stuck in Syria? This feels... I don't know,
Italy's the
with...
naval power.
Like, imagine if Germany decides to go south now.
Okay,
You're having to rely entirely on Austrian armies to hold your homeland, right?
yeah,
That
you
feels
gotta.
painful.
I mean, Germany just left Munich, right?
Okay, yeah, that's
So
fair.
for Germany to go
They can't
south,
actually
right?
go to Tyrolia.
I'm assuming I'm gonna build next year, and if I want to build, I can take it in Spain. So if Germany moves into Munich, then yeah, I can probably move into Venice, but Germany's not building, so I'm not worried about anything this turn. And I
Oh
really do
boy.
want fleets. I desperately, desperately, desperately want more fleets.
So, a kind of interesting note here. No, never mind. I was gonna say the fact that Armenia got bounced out of Smyrna down here, it's actually kind of in Russia's interest because it means that they have the option of, instead of everything just support holding, and potentially getting tapped, they can go for the covering with a support move, and so the tapping is less of a problem. But because Italy has 3 adjacent anyway, and that unit in Ankara is a fleet, so can't support move to Smyrna, Italy does have Smyrna guaranteed, so they do have that extra build coming. As long as Austria doesn't get too annoyed with Bulgaria's south coast and go, nope, out you go.
Well, Italy still has Smyrna guaranteed in the spring, and once they take Smyrna in the spring, because the fleet Ankara, Aegean Eastern Med can support hold Smyrna to hold it in the fall. So Smyrna is absolutely guaranteed for Italy if Italy wants it.
Yep, that makes sense. Yeah. So the main difference that happened this phase, I think, is the fact that Austria is losing their leverage over Russian Warsaw now, because of that dislodge of Cilicia. That is
Yeah, and
pretty
the
big.
fleet con, right?
Yep.
I think that was maybe a bigger deal, honestly, than the Warsaw position.
Well, yep. That's also very true. This is
It's these are the big ones. Basically, Austria's position was great, now is bad. Feels sad.
Yep. Austria doesn't even get to pick what unit comes off the board. They have to just go, okay, it's Constantinople, despite the fact that was in a great position. I could put it in Bulgaria East Coast. Nope.
Yeah.
Not anymore. It's been replaced by that Italian fleet on the south coast. But yeah. So, shall we go ahead into 1970? Well, the winter 1971. See what this
Yeah, let's
Italian
see
build
what
is.
Italy builds.
All right.
Ha.
It is Fleet Rome. You are correct.
Fleets,
Oh
fleets, fleets.
man, these like okay, I can kind of understand it, right? Because you're allied with the army power in the east, so they're going to form a blockade, and you don't need to defend yourself from the land. So just go all fleets. But still, like you're essentially
Hey
a
man,
one-army Italy. Your army
you're
in
not playing
Syria does not
solo.
count.
I mean, okay, the army of Syria does count because it's going to help you take Smyrna, and you're going to take Smyrna with an army, right? This does matter. But
Yeah,
like, remember, my goal as Italy in this game is not to win. My goal as Italy in this game is to not lose.
yeah.
And like, fleets are the best to keep yourself alive, especially in this Italian position. Like, I don't know, man. You can
Well,
hold Iberia forever,
this is
and
true.
you can stall out against land invaders very effectively. Like, I don't know. I love fleets as Italy
I mean, I
when you're not
really
trying to solo.
I really think I would have preferred an army here, but hey, I suppose it would have probably angered Austria to some degree, especially
Okay,
considering Bulgaria had just been taken.
Yeah, after you just blow up their only thing, People's Army Venice, like Austria might just say, you know what, I'm gonna cover Vienna and Trieste. I have to defend against you because you might be looking to cut me, thinking that the best way for you to win is a three-way. So sorry, I got to make the move.
Oh
But
no.
this way, Austria's not under any threat from you.
Just speaking of that, though, I've just noticed, like, imagine if Austria goes Tyrolia Trieste right now.
I mean, Venice will be lost. That
Yeah.
much is true.
Well, they could move to
But then,
Venice and Piedmont and just bounce out your army in Marseille and then just start moving through the boot. You
yeah,
basically
the
can't hold it.
thing is, well, you're building two because you take Portugal, Spain, so minus
Oh.
Venice plus
Oh,
Smyrna.
yeah, I forgot
And then
that.
you build Army Rome, Army Naples, and then Austria is disbanding. And then you're like, all right, what you gonna do now, Austria?
To be fair, Austria does have two units they can disband in Wales and Prussia. That's kind of. But yes,
Yeah, they're not then building.
You know, it's so weird having Austria and Portugal and Spain. I did not really think about them at all. But yeah, Italy's kind of got them held hostage. Austria can't stab for anything less than 2 SCs. Because the moment they stab, they lose 2.
Well, like, that's one way to think about it, and it means that Austria's not going to gain that much from attacking Italy. I'm not too worried about it. But the counterpoint is, as Austria, you kind of need to take something from Italy because Italy's already so much stronger than you, and you really can't let this go on forever. But there's no good way to do it. He's just in an unfortunate position, and Italy just by blowing up the fleet in Caen has made his position even better. So.
Well, alright. I mean, shall we,
Can't work with Russia. Russia's on 12. That's what you would. My instinct here, right, is to make peace with my current enemy and find a way to coordinate with the Russian armies to get Russia to say, hey, do you want to end up in the Aegean Sea? Yes? Great. I can find a way to help you with that. For now, Bulgaria, Greece, and then you get your fleets into Smyrna and such, and then we work our way through. All back out of Galicia and Budapest and stuff. The problem is, if you back out of these centers, Russia on 12 looks at you and says, well, I count 5 Austrian centers in their homeland plus Bulgaria plus Greece. I don't know, that looks a lot like 19 to me. I'm ignoring the fact that Russia can't hold anything in the north, but let's forget about
Yeah,
that
I
for now.
think that's the counterweight, right? The fact that the German up there has the potential to just take a whole bunch at once. And I feel like you siding with the Russian makes that more likely to happen even, right? Because Germany will see, oh hey, the Russian is strong, they've got an ally in the south now, I need to deal with them now before it's too late.
That's reasonable. Absolutely. I really want to find any excuse to attack this Italian player. I mean, I've said this throughout the game where because Italy is just looking to survive and just stop anyone from soloing, even if they don't survive, excuse me, then I've been really tempted to just attack Italy until Italy, look, man, I'm going to do this, and you're going to figure out how to make it work because it's on you, not me. I need a solo, and you need to stop anyone from soloing, but, like, you got to figure it out. So I've really wanted to attack Italy for roughly 50 years.
Yep, that's fair.
Positions matter though, and you have to find good ways to do it. And right now, I don't see any good orders for Austria.
Yeah, you kind of need to be in a position where you can stab in the full turn without like having to set up obviously in the spring, like moving to Tyrolia and Trieste would be in this case. Because if
I
you
would
stab in the
Tyrolia.
spring, then you if you stab in the spring, then you lose Spain and Portugal. If you manage to stab in the fall, you can potentially get the builds out of it, right?
Yeah, I mean, then you lose Portugal and Spain next year, but you have extra units on the board for the next fight, so
Yep,
you might be able to take Bulgaria and Greece or something. Yeah,
exactly.
I mean, I want to move to Tyrolia to just walk into Venice. I really want to do that. Just be like, hey, you can take Spain. That's fine by me, right? We're gonna trade one, but I'm gonna walk into Venice now. Thank you very much.
And as Austria, I really wish that the German army was in Munich right now, because that gives the perfect excuse to just walk into Tyrolia, right?
Oh, I would just tell them, no, I'm gonna take Venice. No,
Okay. Do they not
right? I
move
walk into
Marseille to
Tyrolia.
Piedmont?
No. I don't tell them that before I make the move. No. I move into Tyrolia. I don't tell I'm moving into Tyrolia, but then once I'm in Tyrolia, I say, yeah, I'm gonna take Venice. You can take one of Portugal or Spain. Congratulations. Pleasure.
Alright.
Yeah. right? And it's just like, okay, if he takes 2, then that's fine. I've committed 1 unit to the stab, but like whatever. Portugal and Spain are lost anyways, and now Italy is very clearly at 10 or whatever. And then, like I said, if I am Austria, Italy has played in a way that has simply pissed me off too much for me to continue to work with. And like I know that his goals are completely not aligned with mine. At least with Germany and Russia, they're both looking to solo. So there is a way that our goals can maybe align, right? I say, you know what, Russia, let's just get to a position where we work together to crush Germany. We get to a 17-17-ish split, but we're going to look to stab each other, and whoever stabs wins. That is an agreement you can make with Russia or Germany that you can never make with Italy, because Italy has no incentive to make a deal like that. Whereas Russia and Germany both need a solo. So, like, they desperately. I can't figure out how we can keep Italy around, and I want to kill them. It's just they're doing a good job of stopping us from doing that.
Yeah. Well, shall we go ahead and see whether Austria takes your advice, walks into Tyrolia here?
Yes. Let's see.
Okay, spring 1972. He does! But also, Italy walks into Spain, which is...
Yeah, but like, whatever. Spain's never mind.
And Russia walks into the Mid-Atlantic Ocean, which is a thing
And
that
Austria
happens.
walks into Warsaw.
They do. Huh. Interesting. I can't tell who this is good for. Russia is also in Bulgaria. There's a whole lot of changing hands in this scenario right now.
Russia's in Bulgaria with an army.
They are.
And Italy took Smyrna with a fleet. Why do these people take Smyrna with fleets all the time?
Okay.
I guess they can...
So I think the idea is that they can go for Armenia while they're attacking Constantinople, right? But this... I don't know. Why attack Constantinople here? Is there really anything else that Ankara is going to be doing other than supporting whole Constantinople? This,
Whatever. It's the world we're living in. It's fine. Syria going to Armenia can maybe do things in some universes. Whatever. Eastern Med's not a particularly good unit either. I just want to get Eastern Med out. I want to get it back to Ionian or something.
Yep,
But
which would
it's
be
fine.
much easier to do if it wasn't now in Smyrna.
Yeah. Okay.
Man.
Cool. So Germany did not take any centers from Russia, but also walked into Yorkshire with a fleet, not an army. We didn't convoy into Yorkshire because, heaven forbid, we put units where they're most valuable. And so, I don't know.
I do not understand this at all. Why would you not convoy over if you're going to Yorkshire?
Why are we going to Yorkshire if we're not trying to take centers from Russia? But we're not trying to take centers from Russia because we didn't do anything else like trying to take centers from Russia. Yeah.
Yeah,
I feel like they were worried about London being lost for some reason.
Potentially? I mean, this sets up to counter what the Italian and Austrian have set up here, which is the double attack on London, right? But as Germany, do you really want to spend your two fleets in
Defending a Russian center?
defending one Russian center, and you're sticking one of your fleets into Yorkshire to do it, which is like one of the most useless places to put a fleet on the board. Well, not the most useless.
Maybe you can support Yorkshire into London, right? And you can actually take London that way, and then you can maybe take English Channel.
And you can potentially do it with Russian blessing, which is an advantage.
Always nice.
Yep.
I like taking dots when they ask me to.
But yeah, I don't know. To be fair, the German play right now feels very slow and deliberate, right? With the self-bounce in Munich, a lot of armies doing nothing, slowly moving into Belgium, Paris, not actually going to Burgundy or anything like that. Just sort of figuring out the state of the board and getting into a position to take advantage of it. Maybe, but Yorkshire does not feel like a great place to be. If it turns into an opportunity to take London with Russian blessing, then it probably will be a good move.
Sure. I mean, like, it does do that.
Yeah.
Well, like, you could have taken it with an army and then supported North Sea into London, and then you have another fleet in the North Sea, and then Yorkshire is still around to pressure Edinburgh and Liverpool, but
Yeah.
whatever.
It's always possible that, like, he was originally intending to convoy to Yorkshire or something, and Russia just outright said no. That would be an act of war. Because honestly, as Russia, you do not want to see a German army in Yorkshire here. You don't.
As Russia, when I control the person who controls Edinburgh, Liverpool, and London does not want to see a hostile army in Yorkshire. I
Yep.
completely agree.
Uh, well, this does actually set up quite well to destroy that Austrian fleet in Wales as well.
The fleet Yorkshire?
Yeah, because you can. Well, you're set up around London, and the Russian has two on Wales. You know, it's just
Yeah, I mean, okay,
it's gonna go,
probably,
man.
but like, whatever.
I wonder if Marseille into Spain is like an arranged swap with Venice or something, because the Austrian cannot be happy about losing another centre to the Italian here.
But he's taking Venice, so it's
Yeah,
fine.
if it's taking Venice because of that, that kind of makes sense. But I almost think like this is not a move you want to make as the Italian if you know the Austrian is going for Venice. You kind of want to keep Venice.
Yeah, I believe that it might not have been prearranged. It just happens to work out.
I feel like this move right here, Marseille to Spain, is probably arranged just because the Italian knows. Well, no, it might not have been stated. The Italian knew that they were leaving Mid-Atlantic Ocean, which meant there was going to be a decent chance of a Russian fleet in there. This prevents that Russian fleet getting to Portugal, potentially gives them a 50-50 on it.
Okay, that
Whereas,
said, in this position, you would love for the Russian fleet to move into Portugal instead of Western Med.
yes, because it's
That would
quite
be
easy to blow up.
amazing.
This is
Yeah.
So we've kind of gone on and on in the past about Portugal being an amazing place to park a fleet and just survive forever. That doesn't apply when one person controls the Mid-Atlantic Ocean and Spain, right?
Yeah.
Which is likely going to be the case here. So if Russia goes into Portugal, they're probably making a big mistake.
Because the fleet in Tyrrhenian Sea is going into Western Mediterranean, and Italy/Austria already have 3 fleets beyond the line. So as soon as they retreat into Mid-Atlantic Ocean, your fleet in Portugal is popped.
Yeah,
Because Western Med is just going to bounce Mid-Atlantic Ocean forever, right? Portugal's going to try to move out to Mid-Atlantic Ocean. Western Med is going to move to Mid-Atlantic Ocean. They're just going to stay there, not moving. And you're just going to be really sad about your life until Western Med supports a fleet from, say, Brest to Mid-Atlantic Ocean, and then Portugal's popped.
yep.
It's a feels bad moment.
I apologise for someone being incredibly loud on a motorbike outside there. I think that went through pretty pretty clearly on the microphone. But anyway, yes, it would absolutely be the fleet just being in the Atlantic Ocean is fantastic here for Russia, right? Just being able to prevent any movement into the Western Mediterranean for ages. And just sit there and control an important space on the board. That's probably what it should be doing. But yeah. Is there much else to discuss here? Do we want to talk about the implications of Austria taking Warsaw? Are they particularly huge?
Is Austria huge?
And are the implications of Austria taking Warsaw particularly big? They lost
I mean,
Galicia at the same time, right?
it's a dot. They did lose Galicia. I'm pretty sure because Baltic Sea moved back to Sweden, Warsaw is held for Austria. I'm pretty sure.
It depends.
Because, well, by taking Warsaw, you need to also cover Moscow, right? And so I think it's difficult.
Yeah, you do that with Sevastopol, right? But then
No,
you
I mean, okay, if you're doing it with Sevastopol, yeah, that's a risk you can take.
Yeah,
Okay, that's
and
fair.
then you triple support you
Didn't
Galicia up.
Warsaw just retreat to Moscow?
That's a good question.
Because on
It
one side
seems
it's
like
Ukraine.
it's to put pressure on Romania. Potentially he's just giving up his midline and going all out for the Balkans right now.
I mean, Romania is guaranteed.
Yeah, it's five units around it, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
I was just thinking Galicia cuts Budapest, Bulgaria cuts Serbia, and then you can support. Um, you actually don't need Ukraine to guarantee Romania. That's hilarious because Galicia cuts Budapest, Bulgaria cuts Serbia, Black Sea supports Sev to Romania. Ukraine isn't needed in that moveset.
so you can harass the Austrian units in Warsaw. Maybe if you ask the Russian for, not the Russian, the German for some assistance tapping pressure or something, you can even get it back. Although, no, because you still need an extra unit to cover Moscow. You
I
do
feel like
not want to let the Austrian into Moscow.
I feel like this is a position where, knowing the tactical situation, you put like two on Romania, right? You just attack it with Black Sea and Sev, and then maybe you attack it with like Sev and Ukraine. You have the Black Sea and Constantinople support Bulgaria or something.
That makes sense. Yeah, you try and you take the shot at it and try and hold what you can at the same time.
Yeah, because it's obvious that Romania is lost, and so they're not going to defend Romania because they know that it's lost if they try. So they're going to do something different, namely retake Bulgaria. Um, I mean, I'm not sure that you could even save Romania, Smyrna to Khan, but then they've got four still on Bulgaria, and you've only got two units. Yeah, maybe you support Bulgaria up to Romania. I don't know, dude. There's a lot of tactical nonsense over here that looks generally good for Russia because Russia is gaining either Bulgaria, which is a plus, or they're going to get Romania. Smyrna being lost is just sad, but there's nothing to do about that at this point.
Mm. Yeah. Well,
YOLO Vienna? Because Tyrolia is going to Venice, and Budapest.
huh.
I don't know.
Yeah, Vienna is actually under threat here, especially considering the German unit is right next to it. Could just walk straight in. Um,
Yeah, maybe I'll just have Budapest as Russia because there's a chance Budapest covers Vienna, and if it's not covering Vienna, it's going to help with Romania. So I
so
think I
either
think
way, it's win-win. Yeah.
yeah, I think
Mm,
Budapest is the best move.
yeah. Well, much else to talk about here? I don't think so. Shall we? Let's go ahead to fall 1972.
Oh baby, oh yeah, oh that's how tactics go, boys.
That absolutely worked. The the Russian slips into Budapest here with Galicia to Budapest, while the Austrian covers Vienna, and the German just going to Tyrolia ensures that that goes through. The Russian gets the center, and they get Romania at the same time. They do get Bulgaria blown up, which is the downside. But I think you take that trade every time.
Yeah, and this position, there was no way to save Bulgaria, or there was no way to save Romania. So, or
Hmm.
sorry, there was no way to save Bulgaria. Excuse me. Romania was doing this, so
You could save Bulgaria to, well, no, this is only knowing that Greece ordered the wrong support here. Um, so benefit of hindsight, but you could have saved Bulgaria with Black Sea supporters and Ankara support con, but it's at the cost of Armenia, which is a painful province to give up. Having a unit adjacent to Sevastopol is, yeah, painful.
feels bad. I mean, also another army near Ankara to tap Ankara
Yep.
is, of course, a problem.
It,
But wait, Russia lost London.
They did. They lost London, they lost Warsaw as well, so I don't think they
And
necessarily. And they
Smyrna.
lost Smyrna.
So
So they
Russia's
don't
not building.
build.
Unless Russia popped something earlier. Did they pop a? No, they didn't pop anything yet this turn.
I don't think
They only caused
so.
Bulgaria. So yeah, Russia's neutral. How do they lose London?
Um,
Because English Channel supported Wales to London. No, it
English
didn't. It
Channel
supported
supported
Yorkshire to London.
Yorkshire to London for some reason there. I guess because maybe the Italian just wanted to stoke some conflict between the German and the Russian. But even then, why do you support Yorkshire? And that's... I don't know what's going on here.
I don't understand that move.
That is an odd one. It could just be a misorder. It should be important to note in WebDip's order entry system, it goes support to a province and then you enter the from. So the easiest misorder to make is to put in the to province correctly and then screw up the final thing, which is where you're supporting it from. It's harder to notice, obviously, because you don't get to check afterwards. So, well, you can quite easily by reading, but people don't always read. So it's possible they put English channel support the unit to London from, and then put in Yorkshire instead of Wales by accident.
So I believe that. That is, a misorder is a believable thing, but based on how this Italian is played, namely sabotaging their Austrian ally every step along the way at every position possible,
Yep.
it seems more likely to me that this was them intending to mess with Austria.
I mean, yeah, given the move to Venice, maybe they were just like, okay, well, this is my retaliation for you taking Venice here. I don't think the Italian actually builds, right?
No.
Because they go plus Spain plus Smyrna, but they also lose Bulgaria and Venice.
Yep.
And they did not take anything off the board, so means they actually are quite thankful, I think, for Western Mediterranean being blocked out, because now they at least have something to cover Rome from this wandering Austrian army. Although Austria probably has bigger problems right now than just walking into Italian SCs. Does Austria build? That is an interesting question here.
I don't think Austria had anything popped, and I believe Austria is down 1, minus Spain, Budapest, Romania, plus 2 in Warsaw, Bulgaria.
Yes, they do.
So the only question is, did they pop anything? Because if they don't, they're disbanding almost certainly that fleet. Wales.
Yep, Wales is just... it's a very long-range fleet, but it is not useful at all in its current position. Especially considering Spain and Portugal are essentially no longer Austrian. Well, Spain is no longer Austrian. Portugal is basically not Austrian anymore either.
Portugal is a lot more Austrian now than it was when Italy was in mid-Atlantic Ocean and Marseille. Because in that situation, Italy could take Portugal whenever they wanted. There was nothing anyone else had to say about it. Whereas now, Russia might try to take Portugal, and Italy might try to take Portugal, and so they might bounce in Portugal for a while.
This is true, but certainly the unit in Wales has no say over this.
The unit in Wales has no say over
anything.
The allegiance of Portugal.
Yep. And yeah, it is kind of stuck there. There's units in every single province around it, which is just, yeah, difficult. It is kind of sad to see the end of this Iberian Austria, Austrian Iberia even, Iberian Austria. We had like a Habsburg dynasty for a while, right? Where Spain and Austria united, but not anymore. We will... I can't even remember if that is the Habsburg, the correct thing. It's been too long since I last played EU4. I'm sure we'll get plenty of comments in the correcting me if I was incorrect on that one. Anyway, so is there anything else? Okay, well, actually, we should cover the German moves here. Silesia and Munich, it seems like they're choosing a direction, although at the same time taking London, as mentioned. Seems like that probably was with Russian agreement, yes?
Well, Russia doesn't have anything to say about it, so...
Yeah. Interesting that the Russian tapped Wales. You would have thought that they'd just leave this without tapping anything if they thought that the German was gonna convoy in. Because you want that to bounce, right?
Probably, yeah. Maybe they didn't know it was going to be convoyed. Maybe they were just trying to mess with it, and they're okay with it being a fleet.
That's possible.
Because this fleet in Gulf of Bothnia is not ideal. You're kind of okay disbanding it, so...
I think so too. Although the I feel like Irish Sea is probably a better disband, right? You don't particularly need this many fleets over on this side of the board right now. They're not really controlling anything, and they don't give you... Well, the Mid-Atlantic Ocean is controlling a lot, but together they're not controlling much. And they don't really give you any expansion options.
Irish Sea matters with Mid-Atlantic Ocean? I don't know.
Maybe Liverpool, then? Liverpool is
but Liverpool helps with Irish Sea.
If you're expecting Wales to come off the board, Liverpool's got to be your disband, no?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, it's an interesting question.
I don't know. I just hate that fleet Gulf of Bothnia. Like, if you're not attacking Germany, what's it doing?
Yeah, I think the only reason for keeping it is kind of containing Germany. But even then...
Well, like, you're not containing Germany.
You're not,
even with that,
yeah.
Germany's not doing it, right? So...
One fleet is not going to do very much. So I could see it. That's very reasonable, pulling it if that's what he decides to do. Shall we go ahead to the builds here?
Let's do it.
Alright. Winter 1972. And Fleet Kiel, I forgot the German had a build.
Yeah, because of London.
Did anything come off the board? I guess the Austria must have popped something earlier, or?
Yeah, Austria must have popped something, and Russia must have... No, Russia lost Smyrna, lost London, and gained in Warsaw. So Russia lost something as well. What got popped?
I do not remember.
Warsaw didn't get popped.
Bulgaria got popped for Russia, right? Because the Serbia pulled Bulgaria, Romania down into Bulgaria.
Of course. Yeah, Bulgaria won.
Yep.
So we answered our question. Russia's not disbanding anything. We just wasted a long time. Great.
Well, I mean, I'm sure people are used to us wasting their time at this point. But yeah, this like, after builds as well, this looks like a pretty horrible position for the Austrian, having a unit stuck in Wales and stuck in Prussia at this point.
What did Austria lose?
I don't know.
What got popped? Because they gained...
I'm going to go back and quickly see. They
gained Warsaw and Bulgaria, +2, but they lost Spain, Budapest, Romania.
Yeah, were they just playing a unit down? It doesn't look like they got anything popped. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 here. No, they were playing with the correct number of units. It seems like they didn't actually lose a center.
What?
Budapest, Romania went, Spain went, they got Bulgaria, they got Warsaw, and they got Venice. Okay, so they did go +3.
Venice, I'm an idiot. So what are we talking about? Alright, good.
Oh man, it's a good thing people like who get to this episode will be very dedicated. I hope this is a kind of tired episode from both of us, I think. But we're getting through it. But we do need to do power rankings here. Oh man, I can just imagine that people have been shouting at their screens for the past, 10 minutes, going, he doesn't have a disband, you idiots.
Yeah, nobody had a disband. Nobody on this board. We were talking about disbands and who's going to lose what and how that's going to affect... No, there was no disband.
But yeah.
Alright. Power rankings after Fleet Kiel.
Yeah.
Okay, we can agree Austria's last. Okay?
Yes. So Austria is very clearly lost in this scenario. There's no power that's anywhere close to quite as bad as Austria is here.
Disconnected. Fleet Wales sucks. Portugal is lost. Venice is not a center you can usually hold in the long term as Austria, but it's probably okay for now. But, Bulgaria is not safe. No, this is...
Literally the only thing that Austria has going for them is that they can probably walk into Rome if they wanted to.
Yeah, but probably not, because they're probably going back to Trieste.
Yes. That would make more sense. And then maybe the German army walks into Venice and then Rome.
Okay, maybe what you do is maybe you support the German army into Trieste, and then you support them into Budapest while you take Rome.
That I think that's a smart idea, actually.
The nice thing about losing home supply centers is you can then give those supply centers that you've already lost to other people.
Yep. Of course, you you can't really build in that situation. But I think
No,
you're
but you're
losing
going to lose
Portugal
Trieste.
anyway, and you want to get Wales off the board regardless. So
You're going to find a way to get Wales popped. What you do is by supporting Tyrolia into Trieste and then into Budapest, it's no longer taking any of your centers. You can still build in Trieste.
yeah, that's true. That would be an interesting approach. We'll see whether that's the idea. So we have Austria in last place here. I feel like I know
I want to put
center-wise.
Russia.
Sorry.
I want to put Russia second to last.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same. Dot-wise, Russia is 3 above the other two powers, right? Italy and Germany both have 8. Russia has 11, but Russia's position is just not great here. They're so spread out, and these northern centers are not really defendable. Especially against a Germany who's gaining momentum very, very quickly. So, versus you have a Germany and an Italy here who are kind of just home free. Well, they're not really, but they've got a lot more expansion options than Russia has right now, or at least they're a lot more defensible. Germany in particular, I feel like Germany I would rank as number 1.
Yep,
Yeah, because they have the most to gain here.
they're in the North Sea.
Yep, North Sea equals number 1. Not always, but in this case,
When the only hostile unit is a single hostile fleet in English Channel that can contest, and there is nothing occupying Edinburgh or Norway, it's just like, okay, that's 2 free dots that he can take whenever he wants.
yep.
He could probably get Sweden too if he just goes Norway to North or North Sea to Norway in the spring, and then Kiel to Denmark or Baltic as well, and then supports that into Sweden. Like,
Okay,
yeah, that's like an easy way to get +3 for Germany.
I should point out that at the end of our last power rankings, which were in winter 1970, so 2 years ago, Germany was at the bottom.
Yeah, some are
And
currently arguing
now,
pretty strongly against that. And I
now
mean,
they are at the
this is a good
top.
reason why.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, this is because Russia just moved all of his fleets to the west, right? He just completely gave up all semblance of control over all of these centers, and
Yeah.
so yeah,
Okay, can I
that's
also
why.
point out this is a 7 fleet, 4 army Russia, with 3 fleets in Black Sea, Ankara, Constantinople, and 3 fleets in Liverpool, Irish Sea, Mid Atlantic Ocean. That's
Yeah,
not something you see often. This is the definition of overstretched.
there are like 3 fleets there that are fleets you're pretty happy about, specifically Mid Atlantic Ocean, Irish Sea, Black Sea. Those are places where you like to have fleets. If you replaced every the other fleets with armies, Gulf of Bothnia, you'd have to move the army over to Sweden. Maybe you disband it. Maybe that'd be better. Um, but the rest of those, you'd just much rather have be armies in most circumstances.
Yeah. This is kind of the definition of greed. You have, like, fleets as Russia is just straight up greedy always. It's a good greed a lot of the time. It's very beneficial to have a strong fleet presence on both sides. But if you get pushed onto the defensive, those fleets are usually a bad thing because they can't help you defend as effectively as armies can. And keeping those fleets when you get pushed onto the defensive is just greedy. There is this many fleets is pure greed, and it's not working out very well right now.
Well, I mean, when's the last time you built a fleet?
I don't
I feel
know.
like the last time you built that fleet was like 5 years ago or something. So, I mean, can you
Probably.
really blame the guy who's trying to solo for building more fleets as Russia? Because they're not really.
I
It
think I.
just
Yeah.
his risk, I think, was letting his armies get disbanded by putting them in places like Bulgaria, and he's not let any of his fleets get disbanded, and so his army composition has become more and more uneven.
Yep. Yeah, that seems to be what's happened here. So it's maybe not voluntary greed. It might be completely involuntary greed, but it is greed nonetheless. I will stick to that.
Yeah, I mean, it was greedy to build whatever, his seventh fleet to begin with as Russia.
But it nearly got him a
But
solo, so
if you're at 17 centers, right, 10 armies, 7 fleets sounds more reasonable. It's just when you're down to 4 armies, 7 fleets, it's a lot less reasonable.
yep. Alright, well, we've got our power rankings. Germany first, Italy second, Russia in third, despite having a 3 center advantage, and
It's not a
Austria
center advantage.
in last. Shall we go ahead to the spring?
Yeah.
Okay. Spring 1973. It looks like an attempt to disentangle in the Russian front, at least. No, it's not a... That's not an attempt to disentangle at all. That's just an attempt to blow up Budapest. Okay. The support to Livonia is odd. I suppose that's just in case the Austrian decided, hey, you know, I'm just gonna go all out here and see whether I can deal as much damage to your homeland as possible.
Still not sure of the need to support that move. I think you would be pretty happy if it bounced.
Yeah. Because you might as well just do Moscow tap Warsaw. I suppose maybe the Austrian was asking the German to tap Warsaw with Silesia while he went up to Livonia. Might have been an option. I'm not sure I understand this still.
Yeah, I mean, as Russia, you're probably pretty happy with Prussia making his way down to Warsaw.
Yes.
Because then it's not in Prussia anymore.
This is true.
Yeah, it's pretty unclear.
Yeah. But yes, you're obviously looking down at Austria and saying, "Oh boy, these units are in danger here." But at the same time, it appears you have a friendly German, so you will take Warsaw back if he stays friendly, and maybe you can consolidate your home centers still. Speaking of friendly German, though. It's a friendly German who just convoyed his army into Edinburgh.
Yep.
Which isn't the friendliest thing he could have done.
Nope, it's not. But he also, didn't take Norway, and Kiel didn't go to Denmark. It's trying to cover Belgium. So, I mean, he's not friendly, but he's probably not all-out war with you yet.
Yeah, it's I will stay your friend for at least one more turn as long as you give me this center, which I could take anyway. Well, I'm taking this center while I stay your friend, I guess is the thing.
Yep. I like my friends to not take my centers personally, but...
Yep, although, at the same time, Tyrolia supports Venice to Trieste, which seems anti-Russian.
I mean, a little bit, but it also means that Tyrolia might walk into Venice, so who's it really working against?
It should have just walked into Venice here. That
Yeah,
would have been
maybe.
so fun. But yes, perhaps it is just getting...
Silesia also supported Moscow to Warsaw, right?
Yeah,
So
so
he's just like, I'm happy to use each of my units to support one of you against the other on both fronts. Who needs a cohesive plan?
it's a weird double agent thing going on, where all of the double agent shenanigans are visible to everyone. Not sure how long that's going to work. I have a feeling that this Tyrolia supports Venice to Trieste is not actually intended to be particularly helpful to the Austrian, because the rest of the moves seem to be pro-Russian, or generally pro-Russian.
Well, I mean, the convoy to Edinburgh,
Yeah. That confuses... Well, I suppose that is kind of pro-Russian as well, because it's like, hey, I'm going to take Edinburgh, but I'm going to do it with this unit so I can put my fleet in London and start knocking this Italian back, right?
Yeah, but knocking the Italian back also gives the German position to take English Channel and take Brest, and,
Yep.
I would say that Germany's allegiance is very effectively summarized as pro-Germany.
Yep.
And really to the truest extent here. Like, he is clearly doing things that help him, and he's just doing what helps him on every front. So,
Yeah,
it's hard to take issue with that. He's like, look, man,
that's
I mean,
fine.
I have a good position. I'm just going to use my good position to get things. Congratulations.
Yep, it sure seems that way. And yeah, I think honestly it's going to work out really well for Germany, especially considering he can just walk into Norway this phase if he wants to. uh, he's really got
Yeah,
control of the balance of power here. He can go, you know, if I want Russia to lose centers, Russia will lose centers. If I want Russia to stand strong, Russia will stand strong, kind of, maybe.
yep. And I mean, I remember talking about this at the end of last time when I said that Russia's position was largely good because he picks who's going to get the centers and who doesn't. This is a big conversation point that we had at the end of last time. And here, Russia has simply said Germany is the one who's going to get all my dots. I'm
That's
going to get Germany powerful, and I'm going to stop Italy and Austria from getting anything. And he's playing to do that as effectively as possible,
which
and it's
boosts
working.
Germany. Yeah. Uh, in other news as well, you gotta love that Austrian fleet. Just the poor Austrian fleet sitting there going, please will someone blow me up?
Please,
Um,
please, I'm playing like this is Gunboat. I'm like randomly attacking someone, hoping that they blow me up. Please, please, please. But nope, no such
nope.
luck.
He's got that
He,
unit
he
stuck
had
there.
better fortune near his homeland. He is in very good. Like Budapest is as easy to conquer as possible. Right, there is one hostile unit adjacent, so and that's easily cuttable. And honestly, Romania is not particularly safe. My instinct is that Romania is a simple guess because Black Sea has to either defend Romania or Constantinople, but I might be missing something. I haven't looked at it too much.
No, I think that's correct. He could use Sevastopol to cover it, but then he gives up Armenia, which is also painful.
Yeah, I mean, okay, something either needs to support Romania or be used to defend Constantinople. And Armenia is defending Constantinople, but in a much bigger way for next year. If you lose Armenia, Constantinople is lost next year for certain.
Yes.
So,
Um,
um, I think actually, hold up. Can you have Trieste take Budapest with support from Vienna, while Galicia takes Romania with support from Serbia and Bulgaria?
uh, yeah, you can get Serbia cut by Budapest, right? Is the
It can.
downside to that.
And then what supports Romania?
Uh, Black Sea has to. So yeah, it
Okay,
comes down to that guess between Constantinople and Romania. I think
absolutely.
that's the correct order set for Austria. Um,
Certainly moves that I would do here, because what if Budapest, for whatever reason, doesn't go to Serbia? What if, like, they try to support it out to Galicia or some nonsense, right? I mean, he's probably going to tap Serbia, but, like, what are you going to do instead,
yeah,
right?
I mean,
You're still taking Budapest guaranteed.
important point as well. Even if Austria does lose Warsaw to this German-Russian attack, he probably retreats into Ukraine. No, it depends. If he doesn't get Romania, then he gets a free retreat into Ukraine. If he does get Romania, then he gets to blow up the Russian army by retreating into Ukraine. Which
Uh-huh.
is just... That's gotta be even more painful for the Russian. You have to keep even more fleets on the board. And
Yeah,
just get rid
particularly
of all your
devastating.
armies. Uh,
Because he lost Edinburgh, so he's not even able to rebuild.
yep. And I mean, okay, so actually, in that scenario, if Austria does take Romania, I think the Russian unit in Budapest would have a retreat open to Galicia, which is that would make up for the blown up unit in Romania. But
Sure,
it's
because
still
Budapest is getting popped instead.
you'd
Yep.
still be down to just 3 armies as Russia, which is not
Okay,
good.
Galicia supports Bulgaria to Romania. Pop all the armies.
Oh man, I mean that is actually reasonable. Russia's got to guess between Budapest cutting Serbia or Budapest cutting Galicia here, right? That is another thing that Russia has to figure out.
Well, it's not a guess, right? Just Budapest always taps Serbia.
Well, I mean, if Galicia supports Bulgaria up, okay, no. But Galicia would have to support Serbia in order to make that change, and
And then,
then
yeah,
Russia
you
would
end up
get
in
in. Okay,
Serbia. So,
so yeah, you're right. It should always tap Serbia. Um,
like, I could see maybe you want to do something weird. Maybe like you do Romania tap Serbia, and then like Sevastopol supports Budapest to Romania. No, that gets hosed by what we discussed. Maybe because I'm thinking instead of support holding Romania, you can support Budapest into Romania, but that just seems worse than having Budapest cut something. No, no,
yeah,
never mind. There's nothing. No, no, no. Okay,
yeah. Okay.
let's see some
So the
moves.
the one thing that hasn't really been discussed in all of that equation is the effects of the German army in Tyrolia. I think that can change up a lot. But I think honestly we're better just going ahead and looking at what that actually does rather than discussing all the possibilities. Um, so let's.
It's like the only thing that it could do if it does anything is go to Venice, and it's not. Like, there's no
You're
reason
sure it
for
won't? It might
nah.
tap Trieste if Trieste is going to Budapest.
But like, why? He doesn't want to. Right? He wants this to continue. He
Yeah,
wants
but then
this
he
border
gets
to
a
stay.
build. You
Yeah,
see,
but he
dot
doesn't want
take
to
dot. I
piss them
thought that
off. He
was
wants
your
Austria and Russia
motto.
to fight.
Okay.
That's my motto frequently, but not in this position. Like, currently, he's making both sides play off each other, right?
Yeah, that's fair.
And then, in the meantime, he's making progress in the West. Like, if you're not making progress, you need to make builds. If you're at war with someone, get their dots. But if you're not at war with someone and the board is just getting better and better for you, don't do anything. Just let the board get better for you.
Germany is very good at not doing anything. As
Yeah, he
we've
NMR'd
seen.
like 3 times, and like every NMR has been great for Germany.
All right. Well,
There's good side, right? If you can NMR and your position improves, you're doing well.
that's fair. Shall we go ahead to fall 1973?
Yeah, let's see it.
Yep. All right.
Oh, I'm a
Well,
genius. Oh,
my backstabber is deciding to take forever to load. So, oh, there we go.
oh, I am so good at this. Oh, baby.
Yeah. This actually. Oh man. Okay. Austria got both the Russian units here.
Because Budapest went to Romania instead of tapping Serbia. Okay, tapping Serbia wouldn't have done anything here. Wait, what? Why did
Okay.
Austria support hold Serbia?
This is
Austria support held
okay.
Serbia because he forgot that Budapest and Romania were getting cut, so Serbia was safe.
Yeah, that's an odd
Trieste
one.
can support Vienna into Budapest every time here, and there's no reason to. And that means Serbia can then also support Galicia into Romania.
To be fair, it worked out really well, regardless.
It worked out really well regardless, but like it was a wasted move.
It was. And like, yes. So Trieste. Yeah, important note. I think if people have gotten this far in the series, they'll know this by now. But Trieste did not need to support Serbia here because it's a cut. It's a defense by 1,000,000 cuts, right? Well, by 2 cuts in this case. Cut on Budapest, cut on Romania means neither unit can support the other, so they couldn't take Serbia anyway. And Serbia should really have been supporting Galicia to Romania. There's no reason not to stick that on. But it works out perfectly for the Austrian regardless. This move right here, Warsaw to Ukraine, is beautiful. And it actually makes the Russian move of Romania to Ukraine really, really bad. Because if they hadn't done that, they could have retreated Budapest to Galicia and kept keeping a Russian army on the board. Now that they lose two, they're down to just 2 armies and 7 fleets.
Hilariously for Austria, though, they gained their net +1 because they +2 centers minus Warsaw. But Warsaw's popped, so they're only building one instead of the two that they want to build. So they're playing down one next year,
Yep.
despite the nice tactical sequence.
This is true. Russia could actually have retreated into Portugal if they wanted to deny the Austrian ascent here, but there was no reason to, because Austria couldn't build the second unit anyway.
And because then the fleet in Portugal gets popped.
Yep. And the Russian does not want to lose any fleets.
Well,
To
this
be
is an
fair, this is a
important fleet.
strong fleet. Yeah, this
This is his
one,
best fleet. Maybe Black Sea. All right.
Black Sea and this fleet are probably their best too. Um, it's hilarious that that Austrian fleet in Wales is still just stuck there. 2 units attacked it this turn, Liverpool and London, but neither supported the other. And so nothing took it. This support right here from Irish was actually for North Sea to English Channel. It's a little bit difficult to make out on the map, but yeah, that Austrian fleet still just stuck there, although now Austria doesn't mind too much because he's playing a unit down anyway, so doesn't really need to get that fleet blown up.
I mean, I still want it blown up so we can ever rebuild it elsewhere. But
Yep,
look, if you're looking for a 20 center solo, honestly, Fleet Wales ain't that bad.
this is true. And
Look, once you're looking for a 20 center solo, any unit anywhere is pretty important.
this unit... So, I don't know that these... So, this is a great position for Germany, right? It's hard to argue with that. Germany is now in English Channel. They still have that position on North Sea. They have an army in Edinburgh ready to either get convoyed over to Norway or to attack Liverpool if they want to. They have 3 units in a line on Tyrolia, Bohemia, Silesia, ready to move across the stalemate line. And the other side of the board is kind of in chaos, but they've also kind of helped this side of the board figure its act out, because now Austria and Russia are completely disentangled, right? There are no Austrian units left in Russia, and there are no Russian units left in Austria.
Yep. Another good note for the German position, by the way, is those centers. Paris is super safe because there's only one army in the west other than it, and it's an army in Spain. So Paris can walk to Gascony, for example, and be very happy with his position.
This is true. This is like the huge benefit of being Germany on a board where everyone has fleets, and none of those fleets are anywhere near you. I say everyone has fleets. Austria doesn't have that many fleets. They have 1 in Wales, but those fleets, those armies aren't a threat to Germany at all. But yeah, and of course there is a big benefit to Germany right here in Russia not having armies. Russia is not able to really defend against Germany if Germany decides to go that way right now.
I'd also say pretty fundamentally, the Western powers are gone. England and France. So the one who has the most natural claim to those centers is Germany by virtue of spawning his units closest to them.
Yep.
Right. Just a really fundamental, yeah, I'm the closest one to these, so I can easily get them.
Yeah, perhaps the only exception to that is Italy with Iberia, but Iberia... Yeah, I mean...
Certainly. Italy has better claim to Iberia than Germany does, certainly.
But yes, England and France being potentially German, well, quite likely German, if there's a lot more fighting and Germany can get more units on the board, that is pretty huge. And I mean, England is nearly already entirely German. So,
yep.
Yeah. So, Russia, as we mentioned in the south, gets completely demolished by these moves. German position looking very good. Is there anything else you want to mention while we're here?
I want to see what Germany builds. Are we going to see more fleets to combat the rest of everyone, or I expect to see some armies to continue his dominance?
Okay, well, here is winter 1973. You are correct. It's Army Munich. And Army Vienna, obvious, that was the only option.
Yep.
I love that Russia still can't disband any units.
Yeah, he's got 2 armies to defend everything. It's good luck.
Yeah, I mean, he has this lifeline in that the most likely units to take centers off of the Russian homeland right now would be the Austrian armies, except they've got a line of 3 German armies kind of bottling them in. So that's helpful to him, but helpful for how long? He really needs to get some builds from somewhere, and it's not obvious where those are going to be from.
Yeah, I mean, in one turn, we can see Silesia to Prussia, Bohemia to Silesia,
Yep.
and Budapest to Galicia, and Romania to Ukraine. And if Russia doesn't predict this and bounce Prussia, then Warsaw is lost.
Yep.
And if he does predict it, but oops, Germany predicts his prediction and just walks into Warsaw, you're lost even faster.
Yeah.
So I would not feel safe about this position. Like, you see positions like this actually in 1902 when Russia gets one or two builds sometimes, but chooses to put them into fleets, and then Austria and Germany just look at each other and wink, and then all of these centers are filled and Russia falls very quickly.
Yep.
Um,
Uh.
Unclear if that's going to happen in this position because this is not quite 1902, but it feels very similar to me with the two armies and fleets everywhere else. Nothing to defend.
Yeah. Well, it depends if the Austrian German choose to work together. Shall we move ahead to the spring?
Let's see the attack.
All right. Spring 1974. Looks like the German. Well, I mean, the Germans set up on Warsaw, but it looks like he's going south.
Yeah, I mean, I could see him going south and taking Warsaw.
That is possible.
Like,
Uh,
you're not going to get any Austrian centers this turn. There's a guess for Vienna, but you'd have to take it from Galicia, which is not ideal.
yeah,
But
you.
Warsaw is nice and guaranteed.
That's true. You can just walk into Warsaw. I think the easy German gains here are certainly the Russian ones. Um, and then they can walk into Norway at the same time if they want to. Hilariously, well, I mean, the German is support holding everything on this western front, with Russia doing random stuff around Liverpool and North Atlantic Ocean. But hilariously, the Austrian unit manages to get free anyway. By correctly guessing which one the Russian is going into, or perhaps some
Yeah,
kind of agreement to get it out.
I mean, it's a pretty reasonable guess because, like, there's going to be a Russian unit in Liverpool and North Atlantic Ocean at the end of this turn, probably, because Liverpool's the center and North Atlantic Ocean is the way through. So it makes sense for Russia to cover both of those. And so, of those three spots, Irish Sea is the most likely for nothing to end up in.
Yeah, it's also possibly as a this is to prevent you pulling North Africa into the Mid Atlantic Ocean, because of course, if that happens, Italy retreats into Portugal, and Austria is very sad. Um, Though Austria is playing a unit down, and it looks very unlikely that they're going to get a sensor open to build that. So they're going to
Yep.
be sad regardless.
Yep.
They might actually just want to let Italy have Portugal here and build an army in Rome. Do something to help them out. I don't know if
Maybe,
army
but
in
I don't
Rome
want
even
Italy building
helps.
an army.
Yeah, that's not something you particularly want to see. But at the same time, these German armies are surrounding you right now, and there is zero Italian assistance possible. Maybe the fleet going up into Adriatic can do it.
Yeah, and I mean, even less Russian assistance possible because Russia's got two armies.
Yep. Oh man. Um. So yeah, as you mentioned, there is a guess on Vienna here. It's a guess between Vienna and Venice, right?
Yep.
You can triple support hold Vienna, or you can cover Venice. You cannot do both. I'm inclined to think that protecting Venice is the better option, because ideally you can pull Vienna down into Trieste, right? Trieste into Venice, and then you have a better line. You've either... But then you stand the chance of Germany both bouncing you in Venice and destroying the unit in Vienna, which would be horrendous.
Yeah, pulling Vienna down to Trieste is a bit much. I think just Trieste to Venice and Budapest support Vienna is probably a pretty natural move
Yeah.
because then he can't both pop Vienna and and bounce you. So if he doesn't bounce you, then you can retreat into Trieste, and if he does bounce you, then you've held Vienna.
Yeah.
Because what you can't afford a pop here. When you're already playing a unit down with that stupid fleet in Wales, like you really need to keep these armies alive and on the board.
Yep. But I think this is kind of a fair time to let Italy have Portugal, or at least to say
You
Italy
can't
it's
say
okay.
it's up to Italy whatever Italy wants it.
Yeah. But, like, at this point, Austria is playing a unit down anyway. They're probably not going to lose a center. Or even if they lose a center, they're probably losing a unit with it. I'm thinking of it that way. Maybe you don't care if Venice goes as Austria here. Maybe you just want to keep all your units on the board. Like, avoiding being forced disbanded is the #1 priority.
I agree. My worry about losing Venice is more that Germany would then rebuild Army Munich and support that army into Tyrolia, and suddenly your position has gotten much worse
Yeah.
because now there's more units on your front. So bouncing Venice really is important positionally as well. Um, but I could totally see just double supporting Vienna. Like it's totally reasonable that Germany attacks Vienna. Like it is a guess. Just
Oh man, you know
my
what I just noticed here as well?
yep.
That support of Romania to Budapest from Vienna was clearly a misorder, right? Should have been to
Was
Galicia,
probably going to Galicia. Yeah.
and it would have completely saved the Austrian position here if it had actually happened.
Yep. This sort of suck.
Oof. So, but sorry, go on about Vienna.
I believe I said what I meant to say, in that Vienna, if you lose Vienna, it's bad, but it's if it doesn't get popped, it's really not the end of the world. And so that's why I like leaving Trieste open as a retreat possibility. Um, Whereas losing Venice to me feels, I think you are literally popped next year. You're gonna like lose three because there's too many on Trieste and Vienna and Budapest and Romania to hold. So I really don't want to. You're not losing three, but you're certainly losing one. I think it's guaranteed. And like it's whenever you're losing the Balkans guaranteed, they just snowball so quickly in this position. Like in other positions where you're the one controlling Turkey and Constantinople isn't tapping Bulgaria, the Black Sea is not hostile, you can lose Vienna and you can frequently set up a stalemate line and be okay. But in this position, Bulgaria is likely to go also, and Romania is likely to go. And if you lose Romania to an army and then Bulgaria to an army, then Serbia just gets tapped, and then suddenly Budapest and Trieste go as well. So I
Yeah,
really don't want to see Germany get into Venice because it just means this whole thing potentially pops.
I feel like it's likely that if Germany gets a build even from Vienna here, they will probably just move Tyrolia through to Piedmont, right? And Munich down to Tyrolia, get into position to take Venice regardless. Um,
Sure, but if they're making sure, that's a viable fear. It does slow things down a turn because they're not going for Venice straight.
yeah, and if Ionian takes that turn to get into Adriatic, then you're in better shape. That's true.
Yeah, because Venice gets held.
Um, all right, well, oh yeah, the other thing I wanted to mention here, it's again probably a fairly trivial tactical thing, but over here is quite interesting. The Italian convoying Spain over to Tunis. This is to prevent that Russian army, well, that Russian fleet from having literally anywhere it can go. Um, maybe the default choice would have been to for newer players would have been to cover Tunis with the Western Mediterranean, with the Western Mediterranean, but that leaves the guess of maybe the Russian goes to the Western Med, maybe they go to Tunis. This way, you know, you're always covering wherever that Russian unit is going, and worst case scenario, you're a bit sad if that unit actually gets there because then you have an army in Tunis, and maybe that German army has come to Gascony, and then you're very sad. Um, but but yes, here it's definitely top tier containment of the Russian fleet. So shall we move on to fall 74?
Let's see it.
Alright. Fall 1974.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, Austria loses the guess. Austria loses Romania at the same time.
But it was worse than just losing the guess because Serbia covered Trieste. Vienna got popped.
Oof.
Serbia didn't support hold Romania.
And
Oh god.
Bulgaria didn't support whole Romania either. He walked into Greece. Why did he walk into Greece? What? Is he not going to be playing +2 now? As in,
Uh,
+2 centres, because he's got nowhere to build this unit.
yeah. So he didn't actually lose any centers, but he lost the unit. He was already down one. Sounds like Milik is down two.
Yep. So he has just taken a unit off the board with that move. Yeah, and he's just forced an Italian unit to disband as well. That is... Oof. Is he trying to go for a run into the Italian home centres here? That actually feels possible with this order set. And hey, I mean, it's a way to survive. But man, the Italians gotta be mad about this.
Jeez.
This feels like the German position from before.
Italy can be mad about it, but again, what's Italy going to do despite being annoyed? So
yeah, the worst they can do is take Portugal, which is like nothing. But
yep.
man, it's like taking Greece just feels like a really bad idea here. You would have been so much happier to just support hold Romania. Okay, no, they're only playing +1 because they did lose Romania as well as Vienna. Okay.
So what if Austria wants to get Russia strong to counterbalance the German to let
Oh,
them go to war in the north?
you want to get the Russian a build so that they can put down an army and make sure that they're not quite as vulnerable to this. That would make sense.
But like, why does Austria care?
Yeah, it's a good point. I mean,
That has to be what Austria was thinking. I just don't understand why he was thinking it.
yeah. Just like, I guess the stab on Italy doesn't really make sense otherwise. Although you were saying, as Austria, you'd be looking for any opportunities to stab Italy hard. And
I did say that, but I said I was trying to find tactical opportunities. And the one that I thought was the best was the one I discussed last year about supporting Austria, or as Austria, supporting Germany into Trieste and then into Budapest while Venice takes Rome. That was my way of doing the stab. From here, though, it's too far gone, too late, too much a German anti-Austrian sentiment. So I would not have attempted this particular
yeah,
line.
you're certainly getting into a position where it's going to be incredibly difficult to build anytime soon, even if you do take those centres in Italy. And of course, if you are making a run for the Italian home dots here, you've got to be sad to see Spain to Marseille already.
I don't think he's doing that.
Nope. Okay.
I don't think he's going after Rome. I think this was just a tactical guess, and he covered Trieste because you want to cover Trieste. It's a really natural move to make, and he overlooked the retreat possibility.
No,
I think.
I mean, what leads me to think it's anti-Italian is just taking Greece. What is the
Yeah,
point
but
of
like,
that
whatever.
if you're not anti-Italian?
Well,
I think we have lost Ezio.
hello.
Oh, there we go. Hi, welcome back.
Now there's a space for Romania to retreat.
That's true, but... Oh, okay, so it may have been cut by Constantinople. But no, then, like... Then you wouldn't have had a space to retreat. So...
Oh, because Constantinople tasked Bulgaria.
And you had a space to retreat anyway in Serbia.
But like, okay, sorry, I was assuming that Serbia would support holding Romania. Right? In the world where Serbia support holds Romania, I think Bulgaria to Greece was potentially reasonable because Constantinople, but you're right. Then, of course, Bulgaria goes. There's still no space to retreat it to. Maybe Serbia support Romania to Bulgaria?
Maybe... I don't know. Like, I'm really interested to see what the Austrian does from here, because it feels like this is just a mistake.
Well, I mean, we put Austria's bottom on the power ranking, so they got to do something weird to get out of it.
This
They
is
can't just
true.
do the normal moves.
And hey, if it's a balanced power move and this actually does make the Russian somehow strong enough to contest the German in the north, then fair play, that's fantastic. But the Austrian also needs to be able to recover, which is probably
I
the
mean,
bigger issue here.
something that we've seen in this game is that you can recover from anything as long as you have enough time. So
Absolutely.
you gotta keeping things balanced is the most important thing for your own recovery. So
Yeah, and we have seen Italy come back from one fleet in Trieste. We've seen Austria come back from one unit. I forget where that was, but yes.
it was in a couple places, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. So he's always got a shot. I mean, we need to look at this west briefly, I think, because we haven't talked about that at all.
But nothing happened in the West.
Well, okay, so interesting. Ionian going to Tunis instead of Adriatic means Italy was more focused on blowing up this Russian fleet than they were focused on defending against the German.
Yeah, because this is more important. This is a fleet beyond the stalemate line.
Yeah, but it's Russian. I feel
Yeah.
like the Russian fleet beyond the stalemate line is going to get blown up eventually anyway.
I don't necessarily believe that's true. What if Russia decides to improve his negotiation position with Germany? Say, okay, if you give me Denmark and Edinburgh, I'll support you into Mid-Atlantic Ocean, Western Med.
Oh boy, okay, yes. That would
Like
be
you just
dangerous.
you can't accept that, right? And Germany would absolutely accept that because he needs to get past the line. In Italy, you need to say, nope. The number one thing I'm going to do to avoid anyone soloing is I'm going to be the only person with fleets in the south. And frankly, I think that's a reasonable approach.
Yeah. Alright, well, I mean, he's probably regretting it now that the Austrian army is in Venice, but we'll see with that.
I don't
That
think so,
depends a
man.
lot.
I don't think Venice is going into Rome.
I feel like it should. No, I feel like it is with the move to Greece, but
But
maybe
is
things
he
will
going
change.
to build? Is that him taking Rome? Is that going to give him a build?
No, but it might help his survivability, right? If he can take the
But
boot
what?
and hold out there, then he
He doesn't need
can
to
get back
survive.
onto the
He
game.
needs to solo.
Yes,
Surviving is not the goal.
but if you don't survive, you can't solo.
So we saw Turkey make a decision like this previously, where Turkey went over to Greece a long time ago, and because he gave up his home centers and never had a chance to recapture them, he just eventually stayed alive for a long time. In many games, I'm sure he would have been part of a draw, but in this game, he just got whittled out and then is gone, and we've long since forgotten about him. If Austria runs his army from Venice into Rome, was he ever retaking Trieste, Budapest, Vienna?
It's a good question.
Because
Possibly not, because he has no fleets. Yeah, this is an issue.
So he can't take these centers right now. He needs to get Russia strong enough that Russia can help pull two of these German armies away. Because if Germany just loses Silesia and Bohemia from this position, or excuse me, Galicia and Bohemia in this position, suddenly Austria can recapture centers.
Okay.
He can make it. But like he just needs that to happen. But he can't do that by if he could build right. If he could take Rome and build an army Trieste, we're in a whole other world. But we're just his home centers are lost. There's a great phrase that they used in Go, which is "Don't go fishing when your house is on fire." Defend yourself first. Get yourself stable and solid, and then go for craziness.
Okay, I love that quote. I need to use that quote more often.
Don't go fishing when your house is on fire.
Yes. It's great. But I do want to raise one other thing, which is Irish to Mid-Atlantic Ocean over here. Does seem to be a continuation of the Austrian strategy over there of attacking everyone until he gets blown up. But there is the potential that he asks the Russian or the German for support on that move to try and get back to the south, right? Because ideally he wants this fleet somewhere more useful. And Mid-Atlantic Ocean would be more useful. But equally, it could literally just be I don't know what to do with this, I think I'll enter a tap.
Yeah, I mean, Mid-Atlantic Ocean is a good place to tap.
Yeah.
Oh my god, maybe Germany's gonna pop it. English Channel support World Irish Sea. Maybe that fleet finally gets taken off the board.
It's very possible. I've never actually been rooting for a fleet to die in this game before. Usually I'm very sad when they're well traveled like this, but that fleet has just been, like, it's been on the brink of wanting death for so long. I feel like it would be cruel not to give it to it at this point. So, shall we move ahead to the winter?
Let's do it.
Alright, winter 1974. Oh, one thing before I say this. In the fall of 1974, and I do have the graphic ready for this, Moo Juice substitutes out for a new player called the Hanged Man, who we introduced 30 years ago by accident. But this is actually the year he subs in. So, important to note as well, the Hanged Man is not just anyone. He was, I believe at the time, the number 3 ranked player on webDiplomacy, which is fairly considerable. So, they really brought in a big hitter as their substitute here. But not an amazing position for him. And we still have power rankings to do here. How are you feeling about those?
Well, Germany's still number 1. Austria's still last. Italy versus Russia. I think Russia's gotten the edge over Italy.
I think so too, honestly. It's... Yeah, I mean, that army build certainly improves Russia's position a lot. The army being in St. Petersburg is odd. I guess
Very
that's
odd, but-
just as a, like, I'm building an army, but it's not threatening to anyone.
Yeah, whatever. I don't know, man. It's just like, yeah. Why are you building a unit if it's not gonna do anything? Just leave it.
But then you
Like-
might not get the opportunity to build it in future. Like, I really agree with the idea of building an army here, because
I
as
guess
Russia,
that's fine.
if you lose the center, you want to take a fleet off the board.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
fine, whatever.
So this army build kind of makes sense here. I would have preferred it to be somewhere else, but hey, this works. And also, there's always the potential to, like, convoy it over to Sweden or move it to Livonia, then Prussia or something if you want to do something interesting. There's also only one move away from Moscow, which is, of course, the most flexible army location for Russia. And the Italian takes off fleet mid-Atlantic Ocean.
Yeah, I mean, whatever. We're gonna support the Irish Sea in the Mid-Atlantic Ocean finally, and then it can finally defend Portugal, which, by the way, is still Austria.
There is actually a potential here that that Irish Sea Fleet gets out, and does not get eradicated.
Yeah, and amazingly, could even do something useful.
Okay, it would be pretty awful now if the German and the Russian, seeing that the Austrian fleet is now about to do something useful, actually do, like, go North Africa up to Mid-Atlantic Ocean with English Channel and North Atlantic Ocean support, and then blow up the Irish Sea Fleet with Liverpool and Wales. That's, I feel like that's actually fairly likely here. Especially considering that the Russian has built, like, in a kind of friendly manner towards the German. So they're still working together to some degree. Man, that would really suck as Austria if you finally got your fleet to do something useful and then the moment you did it, it gets blown up.
Yep.
But anyway, so
That would suck.
power rankings here. Germany in first, Russia in second, Italy third, and poor old Austria down there in fourth place still. Shall we go ahead to spring of 1975?
Let's see it.
Alright. We are approaching the 3-quarter mark of this game. And... oh... oh, poor old Austrian fleets. I know this is not where I should be focusing on this board. There's lots of interesting goings on. But that Austrian fleet is finally gone. Rest in peace.
We're a sad little position.
Yep. But oddly, the German was assisting the Italian here, moving into Mid-Atlantic Ocean. Yeah. He did not want that Russian unit to survive. And, I mean, he ensured it didn't, despite the fact that then he also took Russian support into the Irish Sea, getting rid of that fleet off the north side of the board. Honestly, good play from Germany, all about making sure that the northern fleets are off the board as much as possible.
Yeah.
And then we have to look down here at Austria. Do you want to take that?
Sucks to be Austria, man. There's only so much you can do, but there was, I believe, nothing Austria could do in this position.
Yeah. I mean, especially with the Russian going to Serbia. After you just
Okay,
gave the Russian an army build.
Yeah, what he needed to do if he could see these moves, and I think these moves actually from Germany are the guaranteed moves that they're going to do because they're the ones that guaranteed pop Budapest. You need to have Venice support Budapest to Trieste while Trieste goes to Albania.
Yeah.
That's what you need to do, and then you keep Budapest on the board. But whatever,
That
no one's going to do that.
would actually work. You're just trying to keep your armies alive as much as you can because you're in that position that Germany was in just a year ago, where every time an army gets taken off the board, it's gone for good. Or a fleet, in Germany's case, I think earlier. But right here, we're looking at armies.
Yeah.
Austria's down to 4 units, and no ability to rebuild them anytime soon.
Yeah, and frankly, Serbia is at pretty significant risk now because to defend Serbia, you risk Bulgaria. Yikes.
Yeah. Man. Is there really any lifeline here for Austria? I guess maybe pushing that Italian unit into Tyrolia.
I mean, the lifeline for Austria is definitely that's involved. Retaking Tyrolia from the German is of paramount importance. Also, getting the Russian to stab Germany is pretty important.
But the Russian doing St. Petersburg support Bothnia to Finland probably is not a good sign on that respect.
No, but Munich to Silesia might be.
Munich to Silesia might be, although absolutely nothing the Russian can do about that. Right
No,
now...
but for this turn, yes. But, like, suddenly, maybe Russia decides, you know what, he's going to take Warsaw from me. We're going to move Finland back to Sweden. Or it can maybe do something against Germany. And, like, maybe we bring North Atlantic Ocean to Norwegian Sea or something. I mean, yeah, obviously nothing's great, but if Russia decides he actually needs to defend against Germany, we're going to see them defend against Germany in the long run.
That's
but
true.
Yes, Warshaw's lost.
Man, I'm kind of sad to see North Sea moving to Holland here. I feel like that's one you just want to hold in place. I know it's part of this agreement with Finland, most likely.
Yeah.
I suppose actually St. Petersburg can cover Norway, so there's no point. But, like, you could just arrange a self-bounce between you and the Russian in Norway every turn, and I feel like that's just as legitimate a way of saying, you know, I'll stay allied with you and we can do this to safeguard. And it gives you a slightly better stab chance.
Yeah, and I mean, this way it gives you the best stab chance. You just have to do it. Just convoy Edinburgh to Norway this turn.
Oh man, like, that would have been incredible because he would have gained Norway, Warsaw, Budapest. Is he gaining anything else in Austria? Yeah, he is, right? Unlikely. He's gaining Trieste.
When I said unlikely, I meant guaranteed, but yeah.
It depends whether the Russian cuts Budapest.
If you convoy to Norway, he would cut Budapest.
Yeah, this is true. So he's aiming to keep the Russian on side a bit longer. But honestly, I think you make a good point here. He should... Like, this would be a pretty fantastic time to stab on the German part. You're across the line. You have a chance to get complete and utter dominance in the north. And Russia can't do a whole lot to stop you.
Yep. And the Austrian armies in Greece and Bulgaria are not particularly effective against you right now. The Italian army in Syria is worthless, and those 4 fleets in Black Sea, Constantinople, Ankara, and Smyrna, and Aegean Sea, frankly, are all worthless against this particular German solo. So if you're looking to solo, normally the problem with soloing is when you're at 10 centers, the rest of the map has 24 armies to fight you. But those 5 fleets plus the extra army are kind of 6 units that don't really matter. So it's kind of like 10 to 18. And if you actually steal 3 centers from the rest of the board this turn, it's more like 13 to 15, which is totally a winnable war.
Yeah, right now there are only 9 non-German armies on the board. And Germany has, what, 7? Germany has 7 armies combined to, like, as opposed to 9 for every other player combined. And all
And
of
that 9
those...
includes such varied armies as Syria and Greece.
Yep. This feels fantastic for Germany. Like, this is a moment where you could get away with potentially stabbing literally everyone and somehow still come out on top.
Yep, but he would have needed to make a move, and it's possible he still just walks into Warsaw and no one expects it, so he has 1 fewer center this turn, but he's gained for an extra turn of tempo, which is unclear if that's worth it, but I don't
Yeah,
expect Germany's
it,
position to get worse.
it could actually be the same number of centers if Russia doesn't cut Budapest. I guess we'll see.
Yeah, we'll
Um,
see if he goes up to Warsaw, though.
and yeah, other things that we see happen, that Russian fleet gets blown off the board, the Irish Sea Fleet gets blown off the board, like, Germany's just really happy about this whole situation. Shall we...
Germany's position is fantastic.
And actually, Germany has guaranteed Brest as well, right? Guaranteed Brest, and, like, man, this is a whole lot of great news for Germany. I don't think he actually needs to take Brest. I think he's already going +3, right, with Trieste, Budapest, Warsaw.
Yeah, but you can take Brest instead of Warsaw to keep the Russian on side.
Yeah, that's an option. Shall we go ahead to the fall?
Let's see it.
Alright. Fall 1975.
He does take Brest.
Did he just take Venice and Trieste?
Yes.
Austria
Yes, he did.
walks into Rome. Why now?
And Piedmont didn't cover Venice.
What? Okay, so... Hang on. Why now, of all times, do you walk into Rome? Why? What? Is it because the Russian was going for Bulgaria, right? So maybe the Austrian is like, I need to consolidate down here. I can't risk trying to defend Trieste in any way. Maybe I can pick up an extra build down here, but that doesn't make sense. Maybe he asked the Italian to cover Venice behind him, and then the Italian just went, no. Why would I do that?
Why wouldn't you just stay in Venice where I can support hold, you doofus?
Yeah.
Good question. I feel like Piedmont should have support held Venice while Venice held.
Yes, I absolutely agree. And
But
man,
they didn't, so...
German position looking pretty
Germany's
bloody
at
good
14,
right now. They are, yeah, they went +1, 2, 3, 4 with Brest, so they are on 14, yep. They need 4 to win. They could have gone to 15 here with Warsaw.
Yes.
But it doesn't look like they even
Probably
needed
regretting
to.
that now. I completely disagree. I believe they were supposed to take it. I mean, okay, I take it back. I take it all back. Sorry, taking dots from Russia doesn't do anything, because Russia disbanding means Russia disbands Fleet Ankara, for example.
Yep.
So, everyone else disbanding is critical, because if Italy loses Fleet Smyrna, for example, then convoying Syria out is harder. Syria is an army, you don't want to lose it. Austria has only armies that are in important positions, so Austria is the one you most want to disband, which is why it's amazing that you took 3 centers from him. And, yeah.
And Italy took Portugal as well.
Yep,
So,
but
Austria actually keeps everything on.
Yeah, the Russian units on the board are all sitting over supply centers, so they're not disbanding any of these.
Yep. So if you took Warsaw here, you would have taken Ankara off. That probably wouldn't have changed up anything. Then maybe the difference...
Russia's going to attack you anyways, right?
Yeah, maybe the difference is right here, you would have gotten into Warsaw, whereas Now you
next
can't
to a new
as
one.
easily. Yeah,
Yeah,
because
and you would then be able to just reinforce Warsaw by building Berlin, Munich, and then get into Prussia, Silesia, and you can just hold Warsaw. Much
yeah,
easier to hold centers than it is to take them in this game.
man, Russia's got to be regretting not moving Finland to Sweden right now, right?
Yeah, but he's really happy to keep Finland on the board now, because without Finland, Germany looks heavily favored to just solo by force. Like, he might literally have some guaranteed moves that he can make to get him a solo, because Liverpool is going to be lost, and Norway and Sweden would also probably be lost, guaranteed, and that's already three. Warsaw is very likely for the fourth. And I mean, I don't know what. I'd have to look at the tactics in the south, but it's much harder to stop the solo without Fleet Finland. But Fleet Finland going to Sweden and then tapping Denmark or Baltic is going to be important.
Yeah, man, there's like the lack of armies just on the board is gonna hurt the other powers so much. It's so beneficial for Germany here. There's like because usually those centers over the line, Austria, Venice, that kind of area is really hard to hold, but here he might just be able to manage it. I don't see how they crack the Austrian front. Or at least it's going to take them a while to
So
do so.
yeah, it needs Russia to immediately. Um, Russia and Austria need to immediately start coordinating, and and if Russia gets into Ukraine and Bulgaria gets into Serbia and Greece gets into Albania, then suddenly these positions can start falling. But no, you're totally right. This is not easy to stop.
Yeah. Well, I mean, shall we, is there much else to talk about here? I mean, we kind of covered the most important thing there. There's a couple of other moves that happened. We had Holland moving to Belgium instead of to North Sea, which is that feels like Warsaw plus North Sea here instead of Belgium plus Galicia is still a good place to be. Like that's not overlook that, but I feel like Warsaw would have been better here, and North Sea would have been better too. Um,
Yeah, and if he's in those positions, look, man, it looks really difficult to stop. I mean, frankly, it still looks difficult to stop, but I believe it's. I mean, I don't know. It
well,
looks
I
tough.
mean, we know it gets stopped because of the whole going to 2005 thing, but
Yeah, but like, I don't know. I've played games where it takes me 20 years to grind out a solo position once I have inevitability, because I like have three fleets that I spend. I have a stalemate line, and I use three fleets to just corral a rogue fleet until I can pop it, and then I can bring these fleets to the front, and then I can actually start breaking through. I
yeah.
have done that. It's just I would be shocked if this turns into that.
This is also kind of known as the end of every France versus Austria game ever, where France has to grind out the win instead of Austria conceding, right? Where you have
Yes.
you need to take St. Petersburg and you just very, very slowly get Edinburgh, Liverpool, start sending those fleets north, just position them all the way around and then
It
push
honestly
it.
doesn't take that long. In game
Uh,
years, I think it takes like 3 years usually to pick it up.
yeah, I think the latest
But
I've seen that go is like 1912. It's certainly earlier than 2005.
yep, and like it's not going to take 30 years for Germany to solo from this position, but
Yeah, well,
I mean, I could. I don't know.
shall we
Holland's in North Sea. Yeah.
I feel like, yeah, the German position is very good here regardless. It just could have been better. Shall we move ahead to the winter?
Yeah.
Alright, winter 1975. That is 3 units from the German. I think he's playing down one. But, and Army Syria comes off for the Italian. I didn't even realize he had a disband here. I guess he lost Brest and
No.
Rome and only picked up Portugal.
Yeah.
But,
I missed that Russia was building.
wait, what? Where did
Yeah, I
Russia get the
missed
build
that.
from?
Must have been something got disbanded, like Fleet Irish Sea, maybe.
Oh,
I thought
Fleet
that
North
was Austria.
Africa. Fleet North
Fleet North
Africa got
Africa.
pushed off the board.
Yeah, he definitely should have
Oh,
taken Warsaw.
man. If he'd have...
That's
That's such a huge error now.
yeah. That's game. That's yeah. Because you were thinking, right, taking Warsaw is not that big of a deal because it only causes fleet anchor to get disbanded, for example. But no, taking Warsaw means there's no longer Army Warsaw. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
So, like, if he had taken Warsaw here, Syria comes off the
That's
board.
it.
There's
So,
only
yeah.
8
Nothing
units
can,
left against your... 8 armies
it's
left
just
against
solo from
yours.
there. There's just nothing that can be done.
Yep.
But instead, he also built Fleet Berlin instead of Fleet Kiel Army Berlin,
Yep, which is
which
odd.
tells me that Kiel is going to Ruhr into Burgundy.
I think, yeah, he's trying to keep the Russian on side still, which is just like... At this point,
Wait,
I
Fleet
don't think...
Berlin is pro-Russian?
Well, no, it isn't, is it? But, like, if you're going to Ruhr and Burgundy, that's just... Why do you do that if you're not trying
Well, you
to...
try to take Marseille is the idea.
Yeah, it just feels like the less... at least
I mean,
Ruhr feels like the less good option here.
I agree. I would have built them over on Prussia, Silesia, and Prussia, Russia. I absolutely would have done that. But, like, if you get into Piedmont, then Marseille's pretty easy to take.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. And, like, even if if Kiel goes down to Ruhr here and Munich goes to Burgundy, you could have just gone, build Army Berlin, Berlin goes to Munich, Munich goes to Burgundy for exactly the same result. That's just a little more flexible.
Yeah, I agree. That looks like a better move to me. I would have built army. Okay, what would have happened is I would have said, I hate building Fleet Berlin. How can I not build Fleet Berlin? Oh, I can build Fleet Kiel and build Army Berlin. Great.
Yeah.
That's all I would have gotten there.
Right. But yes, so it's
Yeah,
certainly...
Army Warsaw. No. This whole thing is off. The solo is
no, like, it's still a strong position, but yeah, Army Warsaw makes that Silesia to Galicia instead of Silesia to Warsaw move look game-losing. Not just a mistake, it's actually just a complete blunder.
tournament
Of course,
throwing.
it's really hard to say. It's a lot easier to say that with hindsight, because we saw he got into Venice, and, like, Austria walked into Rome, which was...
Yeah, but my feeling is, even if he doesn't get into Venice, he can still solo this. Like, Venice is not a center you are counting on with this solo position. You are planning on holding Vienna and Budapest. Those centers matter, but the line of Brest, Paris, Munich, Warsaw, Moscow, Vienna, Budapest, and everything else to the north, that's more than 18.
Yeah.
You don't need Venice and Trieste. You need to hold Vienna and Budapest. Certainly, that's non-trivial, but it's a lot easier when you're already in Warsaw.
Yeah.
Right? So...
Alright, well, yeah, this is certainly a worse position on that front. I think I do get it, because, like, it's so hard to pull the trigger when you are... even when you're in a situation that's just, like, going for a normal solo that's not in a 75-year game. You're like, when do I pull this trigger? When do I attack everyone? And, like, cut off the last of my alliances? But that was the moment to do it.
I have the answer. Always. Always stab.
This is the Ezio solution. Yep.
If you always stab them, they can never stab you.
This is fair. Yep. Alright, well, shall we...
Let's see it.
Let's go ahead to spring 1976 here. And we are seeing that complete turnaround from the Austrian, from the... in fact, shouldn't he have gone Greece to Albania here? So it's not a complete turnaround.
That's terrifying, dude. Could you imagine if Budapest had supported Trieste into Serbia?
Yeah, that's... I
Dude,
mean, even the other way around.
Do that. I mean, both work, right?
Yeah, like there is...
And then Vienna backfills, and then you support hold Serbia, and good luck.
Yeah, I feel like Greece should... But this was clearly attempting to counter Greece to Albania. This is a very good move by the Austrian, turns out. It's an incredibly risky move, but it pays off well. Taking Albania is great here, and now he's got a free route to push a unit up to Serbia. Whereas if he had taken the moveset I said was obvious, here Greece goes up to Albania, that would have been countered. So...
Yep. Very, very nicely done here. Super well played.
Yeah.
Risky, as they say, but when someone's in a position where it looks like they're going to solo, you can usually bet on that person to play it safe. Usually. Just most people don't push even further, try even harder. So,
Yeah. Actually, nice moves from the board all around here. I don't see a single place where they misguessed. The Russia, Italy, Austria alliance. Admittedly, there weren't a huge amount of places that they could misguess. But blocked Gascony successfully with the fleet over here. Like, Russia is immediately rotating back in the north, getting into Sweden as well, bouncing Silesia, which is good move. Um, and positioning their armies on the Ukraine front, making sure that's through. I suppose the only thing that could have potentially been better here was just be Moscow to Livonia, but it's perfectly fair to move it to Warsaw, given that there's a German army in Galicia.
yeah. And I mean, Galicia tapping Romania instead of supporting Munich to Silesia is a pretty unfortunate mistake here from Germany.
Yep, absolutely. And yeah, Kiel to Denmark. That explains why they built the army there and the fleet in Berlin, I suppose.
But does it? Why
But
not build a fleet
I
here?
don't. Yeah, this should have been. If you're going for this strategy, it should be double fleet. The army. Yeah, it allows for the army to be convoyed over to Livonia, which is a plus. But if you're going this hard for Scandinavia, which is honestly debatable anyway, because that's the one you can take whenever, then ideally you want fleets to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is reasonable, the army, because you can take Sweden, and then you take Norway, and then you could maybe take St. Pete from Finland with the army, and then Moscow is easier to take. So I think this army is I kind of like this army build.
All right.
Maybe we should have just built all the armies,
What, three
and
army?
then
Hmm. Yeah,
yeah,
but
and
then
then
you
we
don't
could
get
send
into
Berlin over to
Sweden, which
Prussia.
is
Say what?
then you don't get into Sweden, which is the downside side.
I mean, but aren't we already playing down one?
Yes, we are.
And we're gaining Liverpool, so we're gonna be +2. So we don't really need to take any centers right now. We just need to get position. And
Certainly
so if we
not in
build a bunch of
Scandinavia.
armies and throw our armies over to Silesia and the south, then we get there.
Yeah. Uh, so yeah, maybe this was a good approach. I just feel
Then we
like
could have we could also, if we built nothing but armies, we could have moved Munich into Tyrolia. We could have kept Vienna where Vienna is, and then we could have used Berlin to bounce Silesia while Kiel goes to Denmark, and then Denmark taps Sweden.
yeah, then why don't you just build Fleet Kiel?
That's
why are we
fair.
using
That's
an
fair.
army up there?
Yeah,
Um,
that's fair. See, I could see Fleet Keel being better. I mean, Fleet Keel is usually better than Army Keel.
yeah. Well, uh,
It is what it is.
but
Good
yes,
moves generally, like very solid moves all around, right? Good moves from Germany here in the Balkans. I think these are the best moves, except with Vienna. I'm not sure if Vienna was supposed to move to Tyrolia or not. Um,
yeah,
like it does mean that it can help Venice now, which is important. But I don't know. I really wanted to put Munich there. I mean, okay, after the builds, I believe these are the best moves he could have done. I think that's fair to say.
yeah,
But because of the builds, namely Fleet Berlin, it hamstrung this.
yep. Um, but yeah, across the board cooperation against the German.
Yeah,
And
as is necessary, and we'll see if it gets there. Right? I don't. Kind of shocked that actually Warsaw's such a big deal.
it really
Yeah,
is.
never mind.
Imagine if that was a German army there instead of a Russian one. That changes so much. Uh,
Yeah,
but
I mean, if that's a German army in Warsaw, right, then Munich to Silesia doesn't get bounced.
yeah, and like, yeah, it's just huge.
Then you can support yourself into Ukraine or whatever. You can attack Ukraine from Warsaw with support with Galicia. Or no, you can't because Galicia was unit taking Warsaw. It just, yeah, I don't know.
Yep. One
It's
center
gonna
can be
it's gonna
such a
change
swing
the game.
because it's not just you, your opponent losing units, you gaining a unit as well. It's a 2-unit difference, not just a
Well, in
1.
this case, you're not gaining the unit, but it's just
Well,
denying them a
yes.
unit.
But you're also having a unit in a pretty fantastic position in Warsaw there as well. It
Yeah,
just
that was the
pins
thing about
all the Russian
stalemate
units.
lines in this game. It's you need to have units in position, not just to do things, but largely to deny your opponent units in those spots.
Yeah.
It's why Piedmont matters so much, because Piedmont always gets cut from either Tyrolia or Marseille, but you don't want them walking into Piedmont. It's just
Yeah.
really important.
Well, I mean, so I don't think there's a ton more to talk about on this phase. I think we should just move ahead to Fall 76.
Yeah, let's look at it. Let's see these fleets in the
Alright.
south get into position. Let's see Germany get pushed out of Galicia, and yeah, take Scandinavia, but he's not able to take enough centers in time.
Yep, well, I think this puts him on 16, right? Because he
Yep.
gets Sweden plus Liverpool as well. He just needs 2 more to solo. Warsaw would have been one of those 2, but it's not.
Yep.
And, like, this must be so soul-crushing. I said it was soul-crushing for the Russian last time. This is, again, a solo attempt that would have worked with one move differently, or would most likely have.
Yeah, this one's a little different because the Russian one, I feel like he didn't deserve to be in that position. Right? There was the way that Italy and Austria miscommunicated, didn't retake Munich, didn't defend themselves effectively. I believe they made some serious mistakes. And so, yes, Russia could have won by changing a single move, but it was mostly because of mistakes that other people made. This one felt more to me like Germany got himself into a fantastic position by negotiation. Other people, of course, made mistakes to let him get into this position, but it was predictable that if he takes Warsaw, he can solo. That's the thing that you could look at and you could see. Here's the change that this does to the map. Here's the way things are. I have a forced win from here for the next few years, but instead he didn't, and he lost it. So I
Yeah.
think this one's even worse.
You could argue that the Austrian running from Venice to Rome for some reason also it was that miscommunication between the Italian and the Austrian again that allowed that. But even that's not too much of a swing. This was certainly possible without picking up
Because
Venice as well.
Venice isn't a center that matters here. The centers that matter are Vienna and Budapest. Because fundamentally, without any southern fleets, you're going to lose Venice and Trieste. Those centers are not holdable from the north. They're not on a line, right?
Yep.
Vienna and Budapest, you can hold. You can set up a line. You need to have Warsaw, Moscow, Ukraine, and stuff to get there, but you can hold it.
Yeah.
Unless I'm crazy. It takes so long to recapture, though. Pretty sure you can.
I think that's correct.
I feel like I've seen these lines before, but I'm
Well,
suddenly getting skeptical. So Tyrolia with Munich and Bohemia, and then
I think
Vienna
certainly
supports
with the number of units that has been the number of armies that were on the board, there were only, I think, if he had taken Warsaw, there would only have been 7, right? Maybe 8.
Yeah, if you have Galicia, yeah, you need to have Warsaw, Moscow, Ukraine, Galicia, but
Yeah.
then Vienna, Galicia support hold Budapest, and Munich and Bohemia support hold Tyrolia. Moscow supports Ukraine, and you have a line. No, and you can't break that from the south.
But yeah, it's certainly like, yes, we've kind of talked enough about how this was definitely going to be a solo, or very likely going to be a solo for Germany here. But yes,
But
it's
he just didn't take Warsaw. That's astounding.
it is kind of it's such a massive turnaround as well, because like we're it feels like we're ragging on the German here. It's actually incredible how he got into this position in the first place, given that, what, 8 years ago he had none of his home centres. He had 5 centres and they were like Paris, Belgium, Holland, London, something like that. And something else.
I mean, again, Russia was in the strongest position on the board, and Russia just chose to let Germany back in. And I think Russia clearly let Germany take too much.
Yeah. This is
Um,
true. Also, getting those armies disbanded was huge in Budapest and Romania. The Austrian did that, but you know it had consequences across the board. These were the consequences.
yep. But we're not in that world. We're in a world where Germany's lost Galicia and doesn't have Warsaw, and is going to take Scandinavia, but is going to lose Venice and Trieste before.
Yep.
Let's look at the fall moves. Let's look at the fall moves. All right.
Yeah. Oh well, I have just moved ahead to the fall. This is fall
Great.
76. Yeah.
Great. Fall
So
76. Yeah, Fleet Adriatic.
So Fleet Adriatic is present now. The fleet in Ionian can back Philippulia, which was potentially Germany's, like, I'll retreat here and get something behind your lines, although that felt unlikely. And yeah, the Austrian now has his position over here, thanks to his good guess on going to Albania. Of course, even if he had gone to Albania that way and Germany had taken Serbia, I think he could have kicked him back out again here. So it was
Because
a
Galicia
reasonable guess.
and Adriatic Sea are lost, yes.
Yeah. And yeah, Russia pushes into Galicia, as you said they were going to. Suddenly, the German position in Austria seems to be collapsing very, very quickly indeed. And yeah, Austria takes Sweden, takes Liverpool, not Austria, Germany, goes up to 16, but it looks like that's going to be where they cap out. Maybe they'll get Norway as well, but they are going to lose stuff this coming year, for sure.
Yep. And I think they're still holding 3, remember, because they were playing down 1, so.
Yeah, this is true. They can mobilize those 3 units. It's possible they could convert this into a position where they take Warsaw and Moscow for the solo. But they need to get something in Iberia there, and that's really hard to do with as few fleets as they have, plus all the Russian fleets being annoying in the north, plus Italy having a stranglehold on the Iberian centers.
Yeah. It's going to be difficult to take Marseille, Portugal, or Spain. And when I say difficult, I mean impossible.
Yep. I mean, is there much more to talk about here? I feel like we should just go ahead to the winter.
Yeah, we discussed a lot of what we were going to see happening because this was all very, very predictable last turn.
Yep.
So let's just see some stuff.
Alright, winter 76 here. And, oh, I forgot about the Russian disbands actually, but Black Sea and Constantinople makes sense, taking off the ones that are away from the German front. And Germany builds Fleet Kiel this time, and 2 armies, but it's too little too late to recover this. I mean, this is Power Rankings turn, so when I say it's too little too late, Germany is still very clearly in first place.
Okay, so I'm looking at this too little too late thing, alright? So, Germany needs to net 2 centers this year, right?
Yes.
We need to be +2 this year, and if we can do that, we win. I see Norway, St. Pete, Moscow, and Warsaw as potential targets. Okay?
Yeah.
So, if we can take Galicia, convoy to Livonia, and take Silesia, I think we're going to get Warsaw.
That's actually worth a shot, but don't you lose 3 here with Trieste, Venice, Budapest? Pretty much every time.
Yes. We haven't gotten there yet. That's an important part. Yeah. Because unfortunately Army St. Pete and Norwegian Sea are too much. Because if Liverpool is an army, we're in much better shape right now. Because you can use North Sea to take Norway.
Yeah.
But that's not the world we're living in. No. Alright, so Germany's like the strongest power on the board, but Germany's in the same position Russia was like 10 years ago or whatever. Where, yeah, Germany's position is fine, but they can't actually hold anything. They can't grow. So they have to pick who they want to do well. And Russia picked Germany, and we saw Germany almost solo. So who does Germany pick? Whoever Germany picks is actually going to be in the first place. That's my feeling.
Yeah. I mean, we still got to put them as number 1 on the power rankings, yes?
Yeah, because they pick who goes. They pick who gets there.
And they also have a pretty good likelihood of just solidifying the northern line. They won't solo in that case, or they'd find it very difficult, but they have a fairly inassailable position if they do that.
But inassailable positions don't solo.
Yep.
And everyone needs to solo, so they can't go for that line.
Okay, so after the German, like, I know it's a lot of it is down to who the German decides to give it to, but who do we put next in this scenario?
I mean, I think Italy is the natural choice because Italy is the least committed to the line. Austria's lost. Okay, Austria's last. We can agree because
Yep.
Austria has lost all of their home supply centers,
Yeah.
and Russia needs to use everything they have to hold against the German.
Okay, something you say Austria has lost because Austria has lost all their home supply centers. Notice Italy is only on one.
Yeah, but one is a very big difference from zero.
This is true. They do have somewhere to build, and that Austrian unit in Rome is very unlikely to go further south at this point.
Yeah, it's almost certainly going back to Venice.
Yeah.
We're probably going to support Austria into Venice this turn.
So yeah.
Or this year. Maybe you do it in the fall, so that way you can cover Tuscany and Apulia.
Something to note: Russia is in fact out into the Mediterranean for I think the first time in basically forever, right?
Yes.
They're in the Aegean, but their position in general is probably weaker than Italy's, regardless.
Yeah, if they take Budapest, and if through some miracle they don't lose more than two to Germany, then maybe their position ends up okay. I just think it's hilarious that Russia spent the entire game trying to get into the Mediterranean by strength and by force and just never was able to. And it wasn't until Italy needed to back up and defend against the Germans solo that he got in.
Yep.
I love it.
And then the moment he does, he has to disband everything behind him, all of those fleets that could have flooded out. Oh, you know what I'd love to see here? You know, Austria doesn't need everything to blow up all these German units in the north, right? He could just wander Bulgaria into Constantinople and annoy the Russian by taking all of those dots that the Russians spent so long holding. I don't think it's going to happen, but it would be kind of hilarious if it did.
It would be funny, I agree. And frankly, Austria's never gonna get a better time to walk into Turkey.
Yeah?
But I think he needs the unit. I think, sadly, tactically, you really want to take Trieste from Serbia while Bulgaria taps Serbia. I think you really want to do that tactical
I mean,
shot.
ideally, okay, so what you're hoping for there is maybe you ask the German to bounce you. Well, you can't do that because it's public press, right? But if you hope that the German bounces you and you can walk into Constantinople in the fall, that would be fun. You can't build off of it, but having that build in the bag, or having the army in Turkey where Russia can not dislodge you at the moment, would be a nice boon from this position.
Yep.
So yes, anyway, our power rankings, we have decided to put Italy, if I can get this sorted out, Italy above Russia, and that is the only change. So we have Germany in first, Italy in second, Russia in third, and Austria down there in fourth still. Let's move ahead to Spring 77. Lots of movement in the north up here. Oh man, is Germany making a break for Iberia here? I think he is, isn't he? With the force on Piedmont. So Germany can take Marseille now, but no, he still can't get Iberia.
Mid-Atlantic Ocean taps Gascony. Tuscany taps Piedmont. Spain supports Marseille.
Oh yeah, no, there's nothing in Spain.
Oh. Portugal tapped Mid-Atlantic Ocean instead of tapping Spain. So, yes, you are correct.
So he can at least take Marseille. It's possible he could hold that up and keep it, which leads a path to 18 if he can take Warsaw and Moscow as well, right? Now, is that enough?
And Norway and St. Pete, right?
Yeah, but I mean, I'm assuming they're gone eventually anyway.
I'm pretty sure Warsaw, Moscow, plus Marseille, right? Because everything without Marseille and none of the Balkans without Sev, you're at, I believe, 17.
Mm.
No,
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 you're only
you're
at
at
16.
16. You're at
Yeah.
16, you have none of the south, and you don't have Sevastopol. You need one of Iberia, generally Portugal, to make it a 17-17 draw. So with Marseille, that's only 17.
Yep, that's still not
So,
enough. And Germany just attempting to maintain his units down here, taking Budapest back out into Vienna, moving Vienna back out into Bohemia, trying to rescue them. Uh,
and he
and
does a good job. Nothing gets disbanded here, which is a position where we could have expected to see Budapest get taken off the board, but instead, Germany's going to take Warsaw.
yeah, um, and like actually a kind of interesting position here for the Austrian because he's going plus Venice, plus Budapest, potentially plus Trieste as well. Um, He does unfortunately need to move Bulgaria to Serbia again to ensure that he does not lose Serbia to to a German backdoor. So the
Does he?
dream of
What if we
Constantinople
take?
is sad.
I was going to say, do you think they could take Trieste from Venice? But I don't think the rest of the board would be okay with that.
Mm. I mean, you could. And do you need the rest of the board to be okay with that? Yeah, I mean,
Well,
okay,
you need
the
their
Russia is
support,
in Romania and Galicia, so you
and
probably
you need Italy's Fleet Adriatic to support the attack.
yes, this is true.
So
Um,
I think you do need their support, as bad as it is.
yeah. Uh, I'm curious about why the Italian fleet is going into Naples and letting the Russian fleet into the Ionian here. Um, the only reason to move it out of the Ionian feels like it would be to go to Apulia to block the German from going around, but even then you don't really need to do that. Is it worth letting the Russian through?
Yeah, Russia's at 8 centers, doesn't matter.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, this is true. I'm like keeping the Russian bogeyman in my head from earlier.
Yep.
This is a much less scary Russian. This is true. Uh, and I mean, maybe even you want the Russian to get built here to try and hold the north against the German because they are about to lose Warsaw and Moscow. Uh, Potentially.
Well, Moscow is going to be a bit much harder to take than Warsaw
Yeah,
because Romania can backfill to Ukraine, and if anything gets into Sevastopol, Moscow just doesn't get broken without Galicia as well. But these these positions are far from guaranteed.
yeah. Uh,
So
right. So yeah, we haven't really discussed the north very much. We do see Berlin and Munich moving into Silesia and Prussia, which is enough to take Warsaw now that they've got the cut on Galicia here. Um, and in the actual north, St. Petersburg supporting into Norway, Bothnia moves into Sweden. It's like Russia actually has a pretty solid position in Scandinavia. And obviously, it's not great because you've got German Army Finland, German Fleet Baltic, Fleet Denmark, Fleet North Sea, but it's 4-on-3. No, it's 4-on-4, which is not as bad as it looked initially. Especially when you're the one who's standing in all the centers right now. It's a complicated tactical situation. Well, it's not that complicated. You could think through this pretty quickly, but we are quite deep into the recording at this point, so I don't think we should overanalyze.
yeah, this is where I prefer the way that WebDip does it, but whatever. I'm an alien and I prefer WebDip's map on many things.
What do you mean, as in you prefer the way that WebDip does it? You
The
mean,
way that I can see the moves. I don't have to look at the arrows from the previous turn the whole time.
oh right, as in you can see the current position of the units. It would be quite nice if we had a view that would switch to the current position without all the future moves on it. But yeah, that's, like,
Whatever.
let's, so, shall we just move ahead to fall? Was that a yes?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, we can do that. I'm staring at the moves and the tactics over here. I like to think about these things.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like Germany has a maximum of 2 on Norway, right? If he puts Finland and North Sea on it. He has a maximum of 3 on Sweden if he puts Finland, Bothnia, and Denmark on it, and he has a maximum of 2 on St. Petersburg if he puts Finland and Bothnia on it. The best choice for just, I think, a guarantee would just be triple support Finland to Sweden, but then you lose your then you lose your position in Finland, which is quite a nice one. The nicest thing to pick up would probably be St. Petersburg with the army, but that can be countered by Sweden moving out to Bothnia and cutting the unit there.
But you've also got North Atlantic Ocean to cut Norwegian Sea.
You do, actually.
That changes how the tactics of this play out dramatically. Because I'm pretty sure you can guarantee a capture of anything except St. Pete. And if not guarantee, you can make it very likely. And I think you can put 2 on Norway while guaranteeing Sweden. Because if you cut Norway, then you only need to use Denmark and Bothnia to take Sweden. So my instinct would be something along the lines of Finland support North Sea to Norway, North Atlantic Ocean taps Norwegian Sea, Denmark takes Sweden with support from Bothnia. That's something along those lines. I could see North Sea to Norway instead, supporting Finland, but I expect Russia to do something like Norwegian taps North Sea, St. Pete taps Finland, is what I expect.
Yeah.
So maybe to that end, you're just supposed to support North Atlantic to Norwegian, and then you call it a day. That seems plausible, but Norway should also tap North Sea. Yeah, you probably just take Sweden here, is what ends up happening tactically, which is kind of sad, but...
But hey, it's still like a pretty good tactical situation. It's just slow.
What if they instead try to be greedy? Because Russia likes to be greedy. So what if Russia supports Sweden to Finland, and he doesn't tap Finland? Then if you have... No, because then Sweden is tapping Finland, so Finland still can't support North Sea to Norway. So yeah, he's going to do that. He's definitely going to be supporting Sweden to Finland, because Sweden's lost anyways, and this can pop the army. But then you can take St. Pete. That's the key. That's the change. So yeah, Baltic support Finland to St. Pete is a move I'm going to input here every time.
Bothnia, yeah. But then it fails against the whole Sweden to Bothnia thing, which is like the obvious.
But that's not happening. No
because of the player Russia is, or
because popping Finland matters. Popping Bothnia doesn't matter. Right? Tapping Bothnia just stalls the position, whereas if you pop Finland, your position improves.
This is fair.
So one of these matters more than the other one, and it beats everything. It beats most of the reasonable moves.
Well, right. I mean, shall we just jump into the fall and see what occurred? How good was your read on these players? Sweden to Denmark?
I'm a genius. I didn't play it, so it doesn't matter.
Wait, hang on. What was even going... Okay, so I think you correctly predicted the German moves, right? Initially, before you said go for St. Petersburg.
Yeah, or I did it. I would have flipped it. I would have had Bothnia support Denmark to Sweden, but whatever.
Either way, it actually leaves the Baltic open for a retreat, which is the problem here.
Yeah, but that's why I want to take it from Denmark, because Bothnia can coordinate with Finland still to take St. Pete, and then Denmark works to take Norway, and you say, one of my home centers gets taken, I don't care. Not a problem.
Yep. So yes, this is a bit of a confusing mass of arrows up here. What actually happened was Finland attempted to go for Norway with support from North Sea. North Sea support got cut by Norwegian because it was aware that Norwegian Sea would be cut by North Atlantic Ocean anyway, so had to do the only thing that would be relevant. And
St. Pete didn't tap Finland. St. Pete support held Norway, which is, I believe, a pretty big error here. Because this enabled Finland to support North Sea to Norway.
It could have done if St. Pete was being tapped, right?
Yes, Bothnia taps St. Pete, while Finland support North Sea to Norway. And you could lose Norway.
Yep.
And I think in this position, actually, if Germany could see top-down after the fact movesets, he would change this because he'd rather not let Baltic Sea retreat into Norway, or he'd rather not let Sweden retreat into Baltic Sea,
Right.
um,
Yes.
because he'd rather just take Norway and then move on with his life.
Yeah. Tapping St. Petersburg, taking Norway would have been better.
Finland, just having St. Petersburg just tap Finland, then there's that's no longer an option on the table, and it doesn't risk anything because you're already tapping North Sea.
But yeah.
Defend by so it's
Um.
right.
Yeah. I
There's literally no risk.
I agree, but I think like the reason you don't do that is because you think, the St. Petersburg is not going to be doing this, so I might as well just ensure Sweden is taken instead, which is a fair line to take. Um, in
Yeah, or you
this,
do my line and just take St. Pete. Oh, just punish them.
in the south, Austria has a terrible time here, right?
Austria has a terrible time.
Yeah. Okay. So he takes
Yeah,
Trieste, which is nice.
yeah.
But Russia takes Budapest behind him, which is presumably agreed upon. That like it's to stop the the German taking Budapest back. But at the same time, Italy knocks him out of Venice and takes Rome behind him, forcing that unit's only retreat to be to Piedmont, which is not a nice place to have your army here, and it kind of cuts off, like, that's just, Venice was your lifeline here. It was your extra unit that you needed to try and push back into your homeland, with the Russian pushing in on the on this side and Italy becoming strong on the other. I apologize for chair movements there. That was my housemate in the next room. With Italy becoming strong on this side and Russia strong on the other, Austria's got to be feeling the squeeze here, even if he's still got the one nice thing about this is he still has that free walk into Turkey when he wants it.
And I think the bigger deal is that Germany is too strong for anyone to mess with Austria.
Yeah, this is
The centers we need to recapture are Vienna and Budapest, which are Austria's home centers. Austria still has 4 units. It's not like Piedmont's being disbanded, which is, of course, a critical unit for holding Marseille, or recapturing Marseille, as the tactics may be. So,
yeah.
Austria is in fine position still.
I feel like I
And
tend
obviously,
to. Sorry, go on.
sorry? No,
Oh, okay. I feel like I tend to have a thing of, okay, the solo's stopped. Let's have a look at these tactics and like completely forget that the power can still solo.
yeah.
Not in actual games. I do tend to be more logical than that in actual games. It's just in these commentary recaps. But yes, go on.
Yeah, obviously Austria would rather be the one in Budapest, and obnoxiously, these tactics from the Russian and Italian meant that if Germany had Vienna support Trieste to Budapest, he doesn't lose Trieste. If Vienna simply supports Trieste, he doesn't lose Trieste. So it's terrifying tactically. I believe that there wasn't a way for Germany to solo this turn because he did still lose Budapest and Venice. So even if he gets St. Peter or whatever, it doesn't matter. But it's just
No. He goes +1 in
terrifying.
Warsaw. He could have gone plus an extra 1 in St. Petersburg, maybe, although he would have lost Sweden in that case, so yeah.
The point is St. Petersburg is better to take with the army because then Moscow is going to fall. And so
Yeah.
it gets you the line that you need to have. It's a more critical position.
Yep. But yeah, I think. But yes, if Vienna had support held Trieste, it would have been so bad for the Austrian because the Austrian would have had their unit blown up in Budapest, right?
Yes, he would have preferred it if Vienna had supported Trieste to Budapest. That would have been great.
Yeah.
That's a weird tactical situation that I didn't discover. So, if you look at it, you see there's 3 attacks of 2 strengths. There's Romania supporting Galicia to Budapest with strength 2. There's Albania supporting Budapest into Trieste with strength 2. So one way to think about it, which is how I thought about it for a while, is that Vienna was if Vienna was supporting Trieste into Budapest with strength 2. My initial way of thinking about it is, well, Trieste goes to Budapest and Budapest goes to Trieste with strength 2. So these cancel each other out, and then Galicia takes Budapest, and then you're really sad. This is incorrect. This is not how diplomacy adjudication works. It's just weird. There is a strength 2 attack on Budapest, so Budapest could not be taken by a strength 2 attack, period. It is also true that Trieste and Budapest cannot switch positions, and so neither one of them goes through, but Budapest is still safe from a strength 2 attack.
Yep. This is the curse of diplomacy adjudication is just it seems to have relatively simple orders, and yet there's so many situations where it's so hard to figure out what the correct adjudication is. This is true. Fun fact, actually, if you do a situation like this in JDIP's old software, which was the one we used to use, and this is one of the reasons why, when I say we used to use, this is like for my puzzle videos from 4 years ago, so before Backstab I had this sandbox mode. If you stuck a situation like this into JDIP, where you would have Vienna support Trieste with strength 1, and you'd have this attack from both sides, plus an attack going into one of them, JDIP would just crash. So, this was, I remember I was creating...
Diplomacy adjudication software crashed with a mildly complicated adjudication position?
Yep. It used to be, and it would output stuff saying, like, applying Sykesman rule, applying Sykesman rule, applying Sykesman rule just over and over, which is actually the rule that you use in convoy paradox situations. So it makes... Like, I have no idea what was going on there. I think they've fixed it since, but it actually killed one of my proposed puzzle videos at the time, because one of the things you had to do was to do with this, and I couldn't get the software to work. So,
that is amazing.
Yeah, this is like an ancient Diplostrats lore from before we actually did stuff that was that people wanted to watch. But yeah, so anyway, we have spoken a lot about this this situation down here. The Austrians still in an okay spot because, as you mentioned, the German is in a strong position, but the Austrian really needs to get those home supply centers back before Germany becomes less of a solo threat, right?
Yep.
This is the key for Austria. They need to race back as fast as possible there, and the Russian being in Budapest and Romania is painful in that regard. It depends whether the Italian decides to just try and, you know, delay them, I guess. Obviously, the Italian probably doesn't want to do that, because the Italian's main concern right now is stop a solo so I can win the tournament, and probably irritating people who are also stopping a solo is not a good way to do that. But yeah, we have spoken about most of these moves. The few that we haven't are over here in Iberia. The bounce in Spain makes sense. Bounce in Brest, that's a good guess on the German pass, although maybe he would have preferred to be in Mid-Atlantic Ocean here. I think he probably would have, right? He's okay
I don't think he's not soloing, right? Nothing matters.
Okay, that's fair. But he might be able to get a solo position out of it if he can slip a fleet behind the lines.
Nope.
But then it's really hard to slip a fleet behind the lines in this situation anyway. You kind of just get stuck
Naples, Fleet Tunis. Right,
Yeah.
These fleets are going to stop you from doing it. There is nothing. This is officially a dry position again. We can like skip the next 3 years or whatever to get to another interesting position in my mind.
Okay, so actually, this does bring up one thing that I just that I'd completely missed, which was giving Ionian giving the Russian fleet in Ionian Tunis. That enables. Does it enable a Russian unit to stay on the board, or does it give the Russian a build? Because that is a
plus Tunis plus Budapest minus
Warsaw.
not even minus Sweden minus Warsaw plus 1.
Yeah. So I think he
Sounds like
builds
he's
Army
building
Moscow.
Yep.
Or Fleet Sevastopol if he wants to be annoying.
If he wants to throw the solo, yeah, he can.
Yeah.
But like he's building in Moscow, so
Okay. Well, shall we go ahead to the winter and see that?
yep.
Okay, winter 1977, Army Moscow, as we expected. That is the only build on the board, because Germany is now on 15, actually, not 16. But he didn't get to...
Or whatever.
Yeah, he didn't get he was like 1 unit off last turn, so he doesn't have to disband anything. Into the spring we go, spring 1978. And Germany is aware that this is a losing position, it looks like. Well, not a winning position. They seem to be pulling everything back.
Yeah. Trying to consolidate on the Russian centers. Conceding Marseille. Yeah, I like it. There's, again, not a lot going on because Germany realized he can't solo. And so he's pulling everything back. He's probably going to take Norway, I assume, is what he's allowed.
Yeah, moving Denmark to Kiel is painful, though.
Yeah, that's an insane move.
I feel like it's to cover it against Baltic, right? But I almost think you want Baltic in Kiel if you're pulling Burgundy back to Ruhr and such like. Baltic being in Kiel is actually much easier to deal with than Baltic being in Baltic.
Yeah, absolutely. It's only one center. Don't use 4 units to defend a center. But whatever.
Yep.
Yes, Germany lost Sweden, which is awkward for the German. I'm sure he wanted to not lose Scandinavia.
He didn't even gain anything. Like,
yeah, I don't know what his tactics were, but I mean, at some point he only used 2 units, Finland and Sweden. No, and North Sea.
He used North Sea as well, so it's like a triple attack on Norway, but what was it hoping for? Because
that Sweden got dislodged, which is part of the attack, and then St. Pete supported Norwegian to Norway. So yeah, Sweden doesn't actually support, and it's just the bounce.
Yep.
I mean, if only Denmark was able to hold Sweden in this position, or tap Baltic Sea, then this would have been fine, but...
Yeah, actually, if Denmark supports hold Sweden here, then Finland takes Norway as well, right?
Yes.
So that's a huge swing. But
or taps Baltic Sea. Tapping Baltic Sea I think would be optimal because then you end up in Baltic sometimes.
Either way would have done it. And like if we look at the rest of the board, we do see, as we mentioned, these German armies pulling back into Munich as well. Italy gets out into Tyrolia. Austria gets into Marseille, which is a fun little province. Maybe he can get a build out of that. And Austria does not get into Vienna. Something interesting here. He needs the Italian and the Russian support in order to do that next turn.
Well, Germany didn't even support it. Germany tried to vacate it. It's that Russia bounced him back into Vienna.
I think that was purposeful. I think it was a purposeful attempt to keep him out of Galicia, because this is the kind of tactics that they would have been discussing in global chat. It looks like cutting Ukraine and double attacking Galicia is a deliberate attempt to keep the Russian in Romania, which does heighten tensions between the Russian and the Austrian.
Maybe.
Just a little, at least. It's more so than if he vacated.
It's again, this is such a dry position because nothing is, you're just going to see people push him back and take centers from Germany, and Germany's just going to pick someone to give the centers to.
Yep. Maybe one interesting thing here is where that fleet in West Med ends up now. Is it, where's it going to go now? I guess it just sticks around there.
It's either, if I'm Russia, I want it to stay around in the Western Med forever. I don't know where it goes. Maybe it goes to Mid-Atlantic Ocean? Because, if I'm Italy, I want it in Mid-Atlantic Ocean, so we're going to see who wins the negotiation. I mean, again, if I'm Russia, I really just want to tell Italy, I don't care what you want. I'm going to tap Turnian Sea with it or whatever.
You really don't want this fleet pushed out north, because if you've already got fleets up north, you've got one fleet down south. That makes your southern fleet more important than getting another northern fleet.
But ultimately, it's not that. Is it really that important?
No, but it's one of the more important things on the board right now.
Yeah, but that's because there's nothing important on the board right now. Right? It's just this is right. There wasn't a solo attempt, and after solo attempts, things calm down for a bit. I want
to see this unit in Bulgaria stay in Bulgaria until Austria gets his home centers back, and then walk into Constantinople. This is my hope.
I would love to see that. Austria ending up with the Turkish centers by the end of this game would be ideal. I would love to see that.
Oh man, Austria could have walked back into Venice this turn. It would have been a terrible idea, but he could have done.
If he doesn't want to retake Vienna ever again, then he can.
No, with Piedmont. But yeah,
you're right. What about with Piedmont as well?
But
That might have
yes,
been better than Marseille, hilariously, but Marseille is fine.
Marseille is a dot, so maybe he can get a build out of it if he can somehow vacate Trieste here.
Yeah, the
We
point is
will
Venice
see.
is next to Trieste, so I'd rather take Venice
Yes.
than Marseille.
Okay, shall we go ahead to the fall?
Let's do it.
Alright. This is like whistle-stop tour of the last few years here, but this is, well, I
It's
say
just
whistle-stop tour, it's still a lot slower than we usually, than like most channels go at. But yes. Wow, Germany
cool.
loses a lot.
Yep. Austria gets back into Vienna. Germany gives up Brest, gives up Marseille,
Austria gets
gives
a
up
build.
Sweden. Yep.
They managed to free up Trieste. Fair play to them. That's fantastic. They get Italy to back House of Adriatic as well. Um,
And now Austria can take Budapest and Romania whenever they want. So,
yeah, and Constantinople. Important notes.
and Constantinople is still there.
Although I think Russia gets a build, so maybe they do go like Army Sevastopol or Fleet Sevastopol to try and secure that.
If Russia builds Fleet Sevastopol here as Austria, I'm gonna have words because it's not even gonna protect you. It's just like, okay, great. Well, we're gonna try to take Warsaw and Moscow.
Well, I
I'm
mean,
gonna try to take
it's to
Warsaw and
get a
Moscow.
fleet back in the Black Sea, right? Which is like,
Yeah, and I'm gonna have words for that Russian. I'm gonna say, look, man, nope.
yeah. All
Bite
right,
me.
so well, the German is fully pulling away from the Western Front here. Only loses Brest and Marseille. I say only, that's still painful. Well, they lose Vienna and Sweden as well, but as a result of pulling back, they only lose Marseille and Brest. They go -4 total, which will bring them down to 11. That's, yeah, they are collapsing quickly here.
It's a big change. When Russia did this, Russia held one side of the board very effectively. Russia held against the Italian Austrian alliance and conceded centers only to Germany, which is what stood to destabilize the game so effectively. Germany right now is losing centers to everyone.
Yep. Even in the north with Sweden here, his tactics. I mean, going to Denmark, not cutting. Well, I mean, could he have done anything here? Not really.
I don't know what he's trying to accomplish. If he is trying to lose as few centers as possible, he is doing a very terrible job of it. If he's
Yes.
trying to say, I am going to collapse as quickly as possible and get to a small, manageable size so they attack each other again, he's doing a great job of it. I don't know what he's trying to do, so I can't judge how his tactics are or not.
Yeah. It looks like in the north. I don't know. He should have pulled Livonia. No, he can't have. He couldn't have done that either. Russia had a really effective defense against basically everything the German could have done over here with
Except
cutting
Norway,
everything.
right? Just North Sea support Finland to Norway.
Yeah, North Sea support Finland to Norway would have been the correct choice here,
But
but
like,
even that blocks in the North Sea, so you can't move English Channel back like this. But hey,
I mean, whatever.
this is a
Like,
guess that Russia is going to go for Denmark, something along those lines. So, yeah.
yeah, it's just like the guess. Whatever, it's fine.
But
Again,
yes.
it doesn't really matter because Germany's giving up all of his dots anyway. So
Okay,
who cares?
potentially the most significant thing on the board, aside from the Austrian position, suddenly meaning that the Austrian is back in the game. Russia pushing Mid-Atlantic Ocean into Western Med into Mid-Atlantic Ocean.
Absolutely.
That's a win
the
for the
thing we talked
Italian.
about. We said Russia didn't want to do this. Italy did want them to do this, but looks like Italy won.
Yep.
And now Russia has got another fleet in the north.
Yeah. Okay, well, shall we go ahead to the builds?
Yeah, that's so sad to see for Russia. He just spent so long trying to get his fleets into the Med, and he got one fleet into the Med, and it didn't even do anything. It took Tunis and then just sailed right on through.
Well, I'm quite happy moving on to the next phase because he gets into the winter. Because
fleet Sev.
despite him getting a fleet pushed out, like going all the way through the Mediterranean, he's like, no, I do want a southern fleet after all. Screw you, Austria. I'm building in the south. I think is potentially the right thing to do here, because that Austrian is going to walk into Constantinople.
Now that you build a fleet, you bet your ass I am.
No, even if he builds an army there, Or,
No, if
like,
you book an
whatever.
army there, I would have taken Romania and Budapest first.
First is the keyword there. You
Yeah, but
want
like,
something in Black Sea.
I mean, yeah, but now it's gonna trigger a war, so
Well, it's gonna be an interesting one. Germany's collapsing. Collapsing this quickly actually does make things very interesting. They are going to. Well, there is a lot of potential for fighting here on the other side of the board. The problem is Germany not in the best position to take advantage of it. Especially taking. Okay, so Clyde I can understand. Germany had to disband 3, which is very painful, no matter how you cut it. Taking Munich off makes sense. You know, you can cover that with other centres. Clyde wasn't the most useful unit. Probably should have moved to Norwegian Sea rather than Clyde in the first place. Livonia feels like one of your stronger units.
what are you trying to do? If you're trying to attack Russia, then I believe you should have disbanded like Burgundy, Munich, and Yorkshire or whatever. And
Yeah,
yeah, put Clyde in Norwegian Sea, and then you're gonna take Scandinavia and call it a day. Um,
but if you're disbanding your units for taking Russia, then you might want to take Finland or Bothnia off instead. Probably Finland, because that's likely to get blown up regardless. Right?
yeah, I'd say Bosnia because I like armies, but
Yeah.
when I'm in this,
Yeah,
but like
actually,
whatever.
Finland has that power of controlling Norway to some degree, so
Yep, but
there's.
like whatever, it's fine.
Alright, well, shall we see what impact that fleet's of us? Oh, no, we need to do power rankings. I mean, it's a comeback from Austria.
Yeah, huge comeback from Austria. Austria's position has definitely improved the most of all of these powers. Um,
Is it enough to
are
not be
they?
lost?
No.
He's lost on dots still, which is the problem. But he can walk into Constantinople. He could take back Budapest and Romania, which is probably the better
Yeah, he's almost
option.
certainly gonna do that. But like, what's
But then
okay?
he's
Take
kind
those
of
two.
yeah. Italy just feels like they're in a better spot than Austria right now.
Of course,
Despite
Italy feels great. I'd rather play Italy than Germany. I'll tell you that much.
really,
This Italian position is like my dream Italian position. All right, I've got nobody in the south to contend with. I control Iberia, and there's no threat to me anywhere on the board. So I'm very happy. I get to stick Ionian and Aegean, and then bounce Russia out of Con forever, so Russia can never get a second fleet through. Just
I was
I'm
going to
invincible.
ask about that actually when you mentioned having no enemy fleets in the Mediterranean. Going to
Yep.
Aegean feels like the right move here for Italy, yeah, and just sticking with the Austrian for now. And of course, a big part of this is uh, doing well diplomatically, getting the Russian to funnel that fleet all the way through Mid-Atlantic Ocean. They didn't really need to do that. They could have just stuck in Tunis.
Oh God, yes. If Mid-Atlantic Ocean was a fleet in Tunis, a Russian fleet in Tunis, for example, absolutely, this Italian position looks way worse. But
But
you don't have to live in that
yeah,
world.
good
So
play from the Italian on the negotiation front there. And so we haven't really determined anything apart from Austria being in last, and you say you would prefer to play the Italian position over the German one, but I'm not sure that translates into Italy being above Germany on our power rankings. Although, like, with these I really don't see where Germany is going. It feels like they're just going to.
feels like webDiplomacy auto disbanded some units because they NMR'd.
Oh,
So there's no strategy to this.
that's possible, actually. No, because
Like
Clyde feels like a deliberate one,
if
right?
you're keeping Finland and Bothnia, why
Yeah,
aren't you
you need
keeping
to.
Livonia?
And you kind
Like,
of want to keep Clyde as well in that situation. It's odd.
I mean, but I can at least understand disbanding Clyde because it's a fleet not in a particularly valuable situation, and you might be able to take Scandinavia without it anyways. But like, if why are you disbanding Livonia and keeping Bothnia and Finland? Right? If you're gonna keep an army over there, you're gonna disband Finland and keep Livonia.
Yeah.
So it's
Or
just
maybe
I
even
think
disband
these are.
Warsaw instead, because, like, that's gone anyway.
I mean, maybe, but like Warsaw is at least a dot, and I understand keeping units on dots. But this to me looks like an automatic disband from Germany, and like he's NMR'd enough that you can NMR in build phases too.
Yeah. It's possible. So this doesn't answer our power ranking question. So we have Austria in last place. Yes. Is
Yep.
Russia above? Okay, so in pure SC count, it goes then Italy, then Russia, then Germany. How much do you disagree with that ranking?
A lot.
Who would you put in different positions in that ranking?
Well, that's what I'm trying to figure out. Like, I think that the Italian position is the position with the most play. Um, because you can choose to tap Constantinople and stop Russia from ever getting his fleet out. You can choose, right? We assume that Austria is going to try to take Budapest and Romania.
Yep.
Because Austria is going to try to retake Budapest and Romania. So Russia's going to lose too, right? Those are going to be lost. But that means that Italy can then walk into Trieste if they want, and then stop the Austrian position from getting particularly strong. Or Italy can stay completely with Austria, try to get supported into Bohemia or whatever. Like, I just think the Italian has all of the choices in the world and no one to fight. Whereas Germany's like with Finland and Bothnia at war with Russia, and Russia's at war with both Germany and Austria, and it's going to lose to Austria and maybe win against Germany, but it's very unclear exactly how these tactics go.
That makes sense.
Without Livonia and Clyde, it's hard. It's more viable for Russia to win.
I think even though it's viable for Russia to win, I'd probably still put Germany above Russia here, just because Germany is fighting fewer people, right?
Yeah, that's fair. I can totally see that being better. And like Germany has more centers to start with, and Russia's losing Budapest and Romania, so
Yeah.
I think it's totally reasonable to put Germany ahead of Russia.
Okay. So there we have it then. These are our new power rankings. I will just fix that distancing a little bit. So Italy in first, despite only having 7, although the largest power is only on 11, so only 4 ahead of them, so it's not that big of a difference. Russia on... so the Germany in second with 11 centers, but still on a lower position on our power rankings. Russia in third, and poor old Austria continuously in last despite gaining, but perhaps he can make a comeback here, we will see.
It's totally plausible, right? Austria's position is definitely set to improve a lot, right? Once you get Budapest, once you get Romania, if you keep Marseille, if you get your 3 builds in, because he's currently playing down 1 still, he's at 6 centers, only 5 units.
Yep.
So if he can build 2 more and then get another build, right, his position is going to look a lot better. If he can wind up being the one with the pressure on Warsaw, if he can get into Ukraine and Galicia, if he can take Sevastopol and Moscow, maybe he even gets an army, winds up in Armenia, and he's the one with pressure on Turkey. His position can absolutely improve dramatically. It's just, it has to get there. And there's absolutely no guarantee all of these things fall his way.
For sure. I should probably not take this off on another seg, given the timing. But given that Sevastopol is about to be in Black Sea, Ionian is probably about to be in Aegean Sea, is there any argument for, instead of going for Romania here, just barreling into Constantinople knowing that this is your last chance to get in there before they just start bouncing for eternity?
Well, your chance is to get Italy to support you in there.
Yeah, but is Italy going to do that rather than just bounce?
Yeah,
I think.
I'd be really tempted to support you in there.
I think Italy would support you in there if it particularly benefits Italy, but I don't know that it does. I feel like they would just prefer to bounce.
Yeah, I'll take Trieste. That's fine. You don't need Trieste.
Alright, well...
And then I want to take Trieste really badly, because I don't want Austria to have any southern fleets.
I think that there is a world in which I, as Austria here, move Bulgaria to Constantinople and take Budapest with 3.
Yeah, I believe it.
But, yeah, shall we move into Spring 79?
Let's see it.
And have a look at these moves. Alright. Oh, this Austrian is not a me.
No.
But
interesting. So they convinced Russia to
give them
bounce Germany out of Galicia. I see. Very cool. Yeah, I like that a lot. That's great.
Yeah.
Use the Russian army in Budapest. Russia was losing anyway, so this way you can maybe convince Russia to get out. And in the meantime, Russia sets up his position. Army Livonia would have been really important here for Germany, but he doesn't have that, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah. And those fleets are looking like a big threat coming at Germany from the Western front. It's very
Yeah,
slow rolling, but it's happening. They're getting through. And you
yeah,
only have
Belgium
the
and London.
one army to defend against them.
Yikes.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason we didn't like the German position very much, and Russia nailed this guess for Sweden. Only way to defend Sweden.
absolutely perfect. The Russian has been doing like fantastic moves all the way through, honestly. With this, with the outguessing front and the tactics. Um, Honestly, looking at this position, especially looking at Warsaw's support Bohemia to Galicia failing, I don't even know that that would have done a lot if it had gone through. But it's certainly looking like these units down here would have been better disbanded than things like Livonia. Bohemia in particular. But yes.
Yeah, Bohemia looks pretty awful in this position.
And yeah, we see over here the what we're saying, the two fleets converging on Constantinople for their eternal bounce. And aside from that, not a ton to talk about, right? The Austrian must be very happy with this. They've surrounded the unit in Romania. They are going to get their +2 because the Italian vacates Tyrolia. So the Austrian can just cover Trieste with the self bounce.
But yeah, but then he can't build in Vienna.
Yeah, that's true.
He needs to find a way to both vacate Vienna and self-bounce in Trieste, which is difficult.
Or just like negotiate keeping Trieste. But
Yeah, but
we'll see whether
I mean,
the Italian is happy with that.
sure.
So yeah, we've already discussed the tactics in the north, not in detail, but we are over 3 hours now, so
And I mean, the tactics in those are
yep.
again very simple. These are the only moves that Russia could do to not lose Sweden to this particular attack from Germany, and he did them. So they all hold.
Yep. And yeah, at this point, as Germany, you're wishing that you had forced Baltic out. So,
Everyone's wishing they changed their moves when you misguess.
yep. So yeah, let's. Well, actually, one other thing I want to mention here: Tyrolia to Piedmont with support. That seems fairly anti that poor old Austrian unit in Marseille, right?
I mean, whatever.
Yeah, it's definitely like. On the one hand, it's pro the Austrians units on the Austrian front by taking that unit away from being adjacent to Trieste. On the other hand, it's making sending a very clear signal: I am taking Marseille. This is my center.
Yeah, and like that's fine. It's
and-
whatever. Austria's already plus $1 billion and doesn't really need Marseille very much.
Yep. It is consolidating the west for Italy. Shall we move ahead to the fall?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see some more moves.
Okay. Fall 1979. The Austrian unit gets into Burgundy. It is still over there, despite I think the Italian attempted to kill the unit.
Yeah, that looks like he tried to pop it.
And Germany was just like, okay, I'll cover Belgium, and that.
Okay, these moves are funny. In the east, Romania gets convoyed to Ankh, and Bull gets convoyed to Smyrna.
What? What?
Aegean, the
Did-
hostile
oh!
convoy.
Wait, both of them wanted to outguess the other, I suppose, because they both thought, okay, if this unit goes into Constantinople, we can outguess it by convoying past.
Well, Russia thought that Romania was getting taken anyways, presumably. So he didn't need to. But there's clearly...
Italy, Austria had to
Italy-
coordinate these moves.
Yeah, clearly. Maybe Austria just said, hey, I am going to have Bulgaria move to Smyrna. Feel free to convoy me if you want, Italy, or you can simply bounce con. And then Russia just made this guess. That's so weird.
This is a fun order set, right? Because it's all about positioning. If either power had gone fleet into Constantinople and the other one convoyed an army adjacent, suddenly the one who convoyed an army adjacent has the advantage. So both of
not
them
really.
kind of had to do this.
Wait, what if Bulgaria just walks into Constantinople?
if Bulgaria walked into Constantinople, that would have been a fun one.
Yeah, if Bulgaria just walks into Constantinople, then if you take Constantinople, it just retreats to Smyrna, and we're back in the same place.
Yes.
And besides,
This
you
is
can
true.
simply hold Constantinople. You don't even need to let them take it.
But yes, but an army in Smyrna in particular can go to Armenia, though.
Yes.
Which is a thing that can happen that is quite dangerous.
It is certainly a thing that can happen, absolutely.
But I think the Russian is building, right? Because didn't they get a unit? No, they didn't get a unit popped in Budapest, and they had Trieste taken this turn. Oh, the Italian actually goes plus Marseille plus Tunis minus Smyrna, so it does. They only get one build, but
Austria goes plus Smyrna plus Budapest minus Marseille, so they're still building, and they had an extra build, so they're building 2.
Yep.
Which means Germany needs to be down 1, right?
But Germany takes North Sea off the board up here, which is... So, yeah, Germany is clearly worried about this Austrian army in Marseille and wants to put an extra army in Munich, maybe, but why not just pull back Bohemia at this point? Warsaw retreats into Galicia. I feel like you do not need all these units over the line at this point. Your solo attempts is a little bit past its prime, Mr. German.
Which units past the line are we referring to?
Bohemia and Silesia, right? And like Bohemia in particular, what I'm thinking is he took off North Sea so that he could put an army in Munich. Is this correct?
I have a different theory.
What is your theory? That he missed
He had a large retreat phase?
I think that's actually more likely looking at this.
Because you're not gonna You're not gonna go to Norwegian Sea or whatever. Maybe Skagerrak, because North Sea has a million great retreat options, and to just disband is crazy.
Man, actually,
There's no way.
You know what? This Austrian army is going to survive for eternity in Paris, isn't it? Because there's nothing blocking it out now, and there's barely any armies on that front. Oh,
I totally
that's
agree.
gonna be fun.
Although Italy can support himself into Gascony, and then once Italy's in Gascony and Marseille, he can support himself into Burgundy, and then he can take Paris.
Yeah, very
And
slowly.
France.
So it's not quite the position that Germany had before, where there was nothing over here.
Yeah.
But yes, I mean, the Austrian move to Tyrolia actually puts a bit of pressure on the Italian over here, combined with the builds. Especially if it's a fleet Trieste build and an army Vienna. Which doesn't actually seem incredibly unlikely here. It's...
That Austria decides to build a fleet Trieste?
Yeah.
Please no.
You're like, where are my builds coming from here? I suppose actually Turkey should be your main priority.
I mean, also Warsaw and Ukraine.
Yeah, and Romania and such. Especially given Romania is empty. But I would love to see Fleet Trieste. Chaos. Chaos.
Chaos and bloodshed are not a solution.
Okay, so a couple of things we haven't talked about. Did we talk about Germany getting Sweden back up here? I don't think we did. Russia takes North Sea, Germany takes Sweden. Only one of them chooses to retreat, which is a Russian fleet in Sweden retreats to Skagerrak, which actually... And this massive convoy chain of units over here, Germany trying to tap Baltic and Livonia, and Russia...
I think Congo line is the one you were referring to, not convoy chain.
Did I say convoy chain? Really?
I mean, I heard convoy chain.
I'm so tired.
Yeah, let's get this over with.
Okay.
There was a long line of units that changed, and it all ended with Livonia taking Warsaw and everything moving up.
Yep.
You can see the chain. It's really fun.
Okay, so shall we move to the winter?
Let's see it. God damn it.
Fleet Trieste! Yes!
Why?
Oh my God, Austria, I love you.
Whatever, dude. But he can do what he wants.
I mean, he is keeping the game. Like, if Italy takes control of this game, it is over. This is true, right? Because Italy is the most dangerous power on the board for Austria because he has different incentives. You've said it yourself. If Austria takes the opportunity to put pressure on Italy when he can, maybe he can stop that from happening.
Yeah, that's fair. It just, he had his opportunity, whatever.
Okay.
Great.
Um,
Skagerrak's off the board, so it didn't matter that it managed to retreat.
yeah,
And
and
Moscow is off the
Moscow.
board?
That kind of makes sense because there's nothing adjacent, but at the same time, that was a very flexible army.
What
Um,
about Finland? What
yeah.
about North Sea? What about Norway? What about just conceding Scandinavia and trying to survive?
Yep.
Whatever, dude. Russia's
This feels like a kind of
Russia.
half-hearted way of conceding. Like, he hasn't conceded Scandinavia, despite the fact he took Skagerrak off, because he kept
That's
Finland.
true.
So,
Wasn't he guaranteed to go plus Sweden if he had disbanded North Sea and kept Skagerrak instead?
I think so. Maybe he just views North Sea as the more valuable unit. Or maybe he's trying to negotiate a kind of an entanglement with Germany, but then why wouldn't you take Finland off instead of Moscow? It's a
Well,
hard...
yeah. Or North Sea. I could see taking off North Sea as well. It's weird to me. Like, I would have definitely taken off North Sea here and then kept Skagerrak, because then we can tap Denmark, Baltic Sea, and we pop Sweden guaranteed.
Mm.
That's what I'm going to do as Russia every time. But
Alright, well...
I don't know, man.
Well, shall we take a look at what these Austrian units tell me to do?
Yeah, let's see Austria and Italy go to war now.
Boy. So through into the spring of 1980, the last year. Oh my god. Germany, no.
Pretty sure that retreat is the most likely universe we're living in.
Oh.
You know what? I forgot that North Sea can tap Denmark as well.
Yeah.
I'm an idiot.
Okay.
Yeah. No, you keep North Sea instead of Skagerrak. Absolutely. Duh.
The German unit stop moving actually probably changed almost nothing. Because there was no way he kept Sweden anyway. And that was
Yeah, I
getting
mean,
forced.
maybe like Kiel to Holland.
Yeah.
Whatever. He might have taken Warsaw because Galicia and Silesia would probably have interacted against Warsaw, even though Ukraine and Black Sea were defending Romania, so Warsaw was probably captured. But now there's no risk on Warsaw.
Yep. So, also hilariously, the Austrian builds this fleet, which is clearly anti-Italian, causing the Italian to pull everything back to defend, and then he doesn't use it as an anti-Italian unit. He's going to
No, I'm going
Turkey
after
with it.
Russia, man. I'm gonna take Greece and go to Aegean.
Yeah,
You don't
this
have to
is
defend
this is
against
actually
Aegean.
what he's planning to do by the look of it. But
Or he
it
just
caused...
wanted to mess with the Italian, but not actually commit it to Adriatic Sea.
This is possible. I bet the Austrian is mad about this German NMR because I feel like the German would have at least pulled Bohemia back in some respects. Maybe gone Silesia up to pressure and Bohemia through to Silesia. Or Silesia tries to pull Galicia to Warsaw, something along those lines. He was really hoping to see one of those units leave.
I agree. I think he wanted those units to leave, and I believed he was going to do it, but...
Yeah. And, like, this is actually huge move. Italy not only pulls everything back, but even pulls Mid-Atlantic Ocean to Spain, which was completely unnecessary by the look of it. Maybe, like, the only reason you'd particularly need that is if maybe you suspected that the Austrian was going to Gascony plus the German to Munich, so Munich to Burgundy even, something along those lines.
Yes.
Which actually may have been what maybe the Austrian pitched that to the German just didn't get back in time.
Yep, because then you can't use Piedmont to defend Marseille. Piedmont is necessary for Venice.
Yep. So actually the German NMR, contrary to what I said before, the saying that it changed nothing, maybe it changed a huge amount here. Maybe it changed the entire Austrian plan. Not getting a response in time. And now suddenly the Austrian is... despite the Italian pulling everything back, the Austrian is committing to an attack on Russia. And Italy just goes, oh, well, what do I do now? I guess I'm one phase delayed, I'll go back, 1 year delayed, I'll go back the other way, maybe.
Or he's going to take Trieste.
Or he's going to go for Trieste, this is possible too.
Again, if I'm Italy here and I'm in this game and this Austrian just built a fleet Trieste, I'm gonna take Trieste. I'm gonna say no. You don't get to build another fleet. What are you doing? What is your life? Excuse you.
I don't think
What?
Austria lets Italy take Trieste.
I mean, sure, you can stop it in the short term, but like in the long term, we're the one with control of the Adriatic,
Yep.
and we're probably gonna. Yeah, I don't know if we can get control of Tyrolia, but if we control the Adriatic and we control the Ionian, we're gonna control the Aegean as well, and then we're gonna take Greece, and then we're gonna take Albania, and then like you need to have everything covered to defend Trieste, and I just don't think Austria can commit to that.
Well,
But
shall we see how that turns out? Whether Italy continues east or spins
what's he
round to
gonna
the
do
west?
instead? Is he gonna
I
pull back
think
to?
there is a possibility that he spins round west. But
All right, sure, let's see it.
all right. To the fall of 1980, he does not. He goes for your strategy. Adriatic Ionian into Venice. He doesn't go for the open Tyrolia, interestingly.
Well, Tyrolia was occupied. He didn't what? Okay, sure.
So,
Why are you taking Adriatic Sea and not supporting yourself into Tyrolia? Or tapping Trieste, right? Those are you should do one of the two.
yeah, it's odd. It's
Like,
like he's going, okay, I'm going to lock down this Austrian position, make sure that the Austrian is, is not able to make any progress whatsoever against me, but I'm not actually going to commit to attacking him at any point here. Which is interesting. The Austrian wins out really well, though, on the other front, taking Constantinople and Romania. The Russian could have blocked Constantinople, but did not, did a self-bounce
probably
instead.
misordered.
This is very possible. And Germany rotates back around, gets out of the Austrians' face, and actually rotates back around on the other front as well, disentangling his units from the Russian ones up here and leaving Russia with Scandinavia.
Yeah. Gets the worthless Fleet Livonia out of Fleet Livonia.
This is true.
Feels so nice. I hate Fleet Livonia.
And gets into North Sea, which is very nice, because outside of diplomatically, he could not have gotten that.
Yeah, his fleets, he teleported Fleet Livonia to Fleet North Sea. The other fleets held. We take those trades.
You take that every single time, yes. Russian and German, as seems to happen at the end of every single one of these episodes, getting back on the same page again.
Yep.
And, I mean, this is actually going to turn out to be pretty even, I think. So, one important thing here. The German does dislodge the Austrian from Burgundy. Burgundy chooses to retreat to Gascony rather than Paris, which is fair because the third Austrian build center, Trieste, is covered, so he would not have gotten build going to Paris. But
he also couldn't have held Paris because in the spring next turn, Burgundy would support Belgium into Picardy, and then in the fall it would support Picardy into Paris, and then you lose Paris. So
you retreat into the place where I guess your army is most likely to survive, which is an interesting one.
Yeah, but it's not really going to survive anyways.
Yeah. Well, Spain being on the south coast means it's difficult to support a unit into Gascony right now, but...
Sure. But Germany's going to get an army into Paris, and he's going to crush you.
Yeah, as long as this isn't like a thing of, let's spin around and take Marseille now, although they can't, so never mind. They could go for Brest.
If Fleet Spain was not there, then they could take Marseille, but that's not going to happen.
Yep. It does pin the fleet down in Spain as opposed to the Atlantic Ocean, which I'm sure Germany is happy with, especially now that he's getting his fleets mobilized in the north. But big winner this turn, definitely Austria, right? Despite the fact that the Italian spun around against him. He went +2. Yeah, that's as much as you need to say on that front, right?
Austria's very happy.
Yeah. Shall we go to winter and do our final power rankings?
Sure.
Okay, winter 1980. When I say final power rankings, I of course mean of the episode. We've still got 2 more of these to go. Bothnia comes off the board for Russia. Makes sense after just making peace with the German. But interestingly does leave the German able to swing around if they want to and go after the Russian again. And Austria built the 2 armies he could build. And suddenly we're down to a pretty even situation here. Germany on 10 centers, Austria on 9, Italy on 8, Russia on 7.
Yeah, almost as even as possible. You'd have to take one center from Germany and give it to Russia to have the maximum balance.
Yeah, absolutely. So what do you view the power rankings as being right now?
I still want to play Italy.
I mean, I kind of agree. I'm like, I don't
I'm
see how
completely
Italy loses
unassailable.
ground. They lose ground in Brest, maybe, and then that's like
Yeah,
it.
and if you lose Brest and Germany commits his fleets to push to the south, and he tries to break you, yes, that can happen, absolutely. But if anything other than that happens, you're fine.
And like even
So
then, the number of fleets that Germany has available, they would need to take them all away from this Russian front, and the Russians still has 2 fleets up there. It's got to pin down something of the Germans. So, yeah. Honestly, I think the weakest power, I feel like you'll agree, is Russia right now, right?
it's certainly the one I want to play the least.
Yeah. They've lost Turkey for the first time in, like,
Since Turkey was held by the Turks.
yeah. It's been forever, but they have lost their hold on it that they kept for that long. Maybe it's because they funneled that fleet all the way out through the Mediterranean.
Yeah, Fleet Black Sea's pretty good at holding. If they had another fleet over here, they wouldn't have lost it.
Yep. So I'm gonna go ahead and say that Russia is in last place at the moment. Who would be next? Who would you least like to play next?
Germany.
I think it's Germany, yeah. I would agree. Like, if we're putting Italy in first here, Austria has decent expansion against the Russian. Germany just... His position feels so slow to gain anything right now.
Maybe I'd rather play Germany than Austria, though. Because Austria's got to defend Trieste with 3 of his units.
Yeah, or he just
And
gives up Trieste and says,
so
sure.
if you give Trieste to an army, then another army gets convoyed into Albania.
Yeah, that's an issue.
And, like, if Piedmont gets into
Oh man.
Tyrolia, then you have to pull Armenia back. I take it all back. No, I'd rather play Germany than
The
Austria, because Italy, this attack is just going to be too annoying.
Actually, yeah, the convoy to Albania possibility was one I hadn't even thought of. And yeah, that actually changes things a lot because you can't easily defend that entire front. It sort of pins you down, stops you from advancing against the Russians. Well, I think I still dislike the Russian position more than I dislike anything else.
Yeah, if Italy is going to commit to attacking Austria, his position is the worst, but who knows if that happens. That's what I would do as Italy, so maybe that means I should make Austria last, but I don't know.
You know what? I'm just gonna keep Russia last on the basis that
Just have the fewest dots.
7 dots as opposed to 9.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
to be fair, 3 of those dots from Austria are phantom dots. They're all defending, so
Yep.
do they even count?
But he is in Turkey, finally. So I think
Yeah,
we
but
give
he's not
him the
defending,
boon of being, doing
sure.
something that hasn't been achieved in forever and say, well done, Austria, we're gonna give you 1 extra position on the power rankings.
Yeah, that's fair.
And then, so Russia is at the bottom, Austria above them, and then
I'd rather
Germany,
play Italy than Germany, so.
Germany third, Germany second even, and Italy at the top here. Despite not really having an amazing expansion route right now, they have maybe Trieste, and then
And Greece.
yeah, okay,
And, like, once they take Trieste and Greece, they build the other 2 fleets, and they get into Aegean and Eastern Med, and then Turkey, that was formerly Austrian, will then be Italian, so.
I feel like the tournament dynamics also play a huge part in this, right? Because
Of course.
Italy doesn't need to get to 18, everyone else does, and in Austria's case, he needs to get to 20 even, which is.
Impossible, but hey.
It feels really difficult, especially with only 1 fleet on the board. You're really wishing that Fleet Irish Sea had survived right now.
Yeah,
Instead
but
of
he
Army
might be
Gascony.
better to survive is the problem, so.
Yep. Okay, but yes. So, I think that brings us to more or less the end of the episode here. It's actually not the longest one so far, so that's a plus. And, of course, 2 more of these to go, and then that's it. We're fast approaching the end of the longest game of all time. Thank you very
Fast
much.
approaching, as in we're
Oh,
whatever
yeah, well,
2 months into this.
slowly approaching.
Weeks. Yeah,
So,
we're almost there.
yes, and the last episode will probably be longer than the rest because it's covering 15 years instead of 10. But, I suppose you've watched this long. I assume you're happy to watch longer. Thank you for sticking with us for all this time, and we'll see you next time.